Hey, what's
Howdy.
happening, friends? So Big Dog Ethan here. I think it's probably only the second time I've actually had someone here in person. This is Ty. Hi, Ty.
Hi.
Big
Dog.
Grr. Yeah, so Ty is, what are you, program manager? Is that the title?
Program director.
I am so sorry.
Director.
I am so sorry. I
put some spec on that name.
I can never show my face in a station meeting again, man.
I'm sure it'll be fine. I'll just have to bring it up at the next directors meeting, and then we'll toss it over. And
yeah, I'm sure I'll just get I don't know, maybe like Taylor will just make me do like another event or something like that.
Fantastic.
Or write another review. Yeah, but anyways, yeah. So we're just kind of here. We're going to be giving our live quote unquote reactions to the debate, like as we watch it. Obviously it's not live in the sense like it's being live streamed. So we're recording this on Tuesday, September 10th at about, let's see, it's 7:52 right now.
Clock's running a little fast there.
Oh, is it? Yeah, probably. Oh yeah.
I'm checking.
Yeah, it's 7:52.
Now it's 7:52. Sorry.
Yeah.
Nitpicky.
Yeah, no, I get, yeah. This, yeah, as long as like the watch
Just for
is
the
like,
viewer, I just want to be honest and transparent about what's going on, where we're at, where I'm at.
yeah.
That's what I want to bring, kind of an honesty of truth
Yes.
to an already
Yes.
pretty truthful show, to my knowledge.
Exactly.
I've heard.
we can always use more of that. Yeah. I should also note too, by the way, this is actually the first time I'm like recording a podcast with, well, no, I take it back. I guess I did like record a few podcasts maybe with, the radio station back at my old school at Henderson State, but this is the first time. Literally MTSU, they have like this whole podcasting kit. The only thing it didn't come with was that mic stand, which false advertising on their checkout equipment page, unless maybe I just misread it or something. I don't know. But so anyways, yeah. So we're just gonna be recording this, and I'm gonna upload it. I'm still kind of on the fence. I might just like upload it like ASAP, but at the same time, I do kind of like prioritizing having that go up, like, having that broadcast first on the station. Cause that's kind of like been my justification for doing this whole show. Otherwise it would just be very difficult to like motivate myself to like, schedule out time weekly to like do
to sit down and do it. It takes a lot of time, takes a lot of effort.
Yeah.
It shows though. It's a good show you put on here.
Thank you. I appreciate it, man.
Tune in when I can, but Mondays.
Yeah. So,
I guess it's not Monday, so I'm here.
Yeah, you're here. Yeah.
That's like a time warp.
Yeah. So I guess it's Tuesday today, so you would have just done your show, right?
I did do a show today.
Yeah.
Tyson's Taste, 4 to 5,
Yeah.
We play whatever.
Okay.
Well, I not whatever. I mean, I play Tyson's Taste.
Oh.
What I like. I talk about what I like. Well, except I didn't do a lot of talking today. If you tuned in, if you're a real Tyson head, I know you're out there. If you tuned in today, I didn't do a lot of talking, but I played a lot of music, a lot of songs. I played a lot of punk today.
Punk. I should have fucking tuned in, man.
Just
Damn.
quick songs, bro. Like no longer like never mind. I opened the show with like a 6-minute song, but that's just a masterpiece by Death. Check out Death if you're into proto punk. Before their time. If you know.
I've been checking out Death for a very long time now.
No. It's not the Death that you know. It's not the Death that you know. It's the Death you don't know. It's the Death. There are two deaths. Two deaths. One from the 70s.
Oh.
And one from whenever the other Death came out.
Wait, so there are two bands called Death?
See, okay, this is an unknown story. I'll go ahead. I love going in, talking about some deep cuts and some music. So, there's this band out of Detroit in the 70s called Death. It's a 3-man trio. They're brothers. They put together a band. They made music that's similar to the punk movement that started a little bit later in a different place. And it's kind of an interesting kind of, emergent evolution kind of thing, or not convergent. Is it convergent evolution? I don't know. I'm not a big
Convergent evolution?
Yeah. When two places, two things come up, different places.
Oh, yeah,
naturally.
converge.
Yeah, where they're kind of similar things.
Yeah.
It's, an interesting concept, but like they put out this just beautiful music. It's kind of this nice, unique mixture of like a soul, funk, punk, rock, fusion, and they have this masterpiece song that I love called "Let the World Turn," and it's got the funk, it's got the punk, and it's just a nice listen. It's a 6-minute song. Had to open with it. I just love that band too much not to. And then I went into some classics. I like to listen to a lot of stuff. I like to challenge myself. I like to challenge the listener. Sometimes I'll put on some stuff that I've never heard before looking into the show. But
hey, I will note, like, it's well, sorry, I was just gonna note, like, I don't know, it probably isn't a big deal. It's kind of like at random moments, like,
is it not picking me up for a second?
Yeah, it just
when
like
I get low. Yeah,
maybe like
if get it closer to me.
Not get closer, but if you just like you see like on its hinge, just like tilt the tip more towards.
There we go.
Yeah, because like I said, I think it's all about like trying to. Sorry, it's gonna sound really bad. It's all about trying to get the tip right under your mouth.
Hey, okay. Okay. I mean, but that is,
Yeah.
we like to do things right over here. And if the listener can hear me, that's what I like. That's what I like to see. I guess hear, listen. Yeah. I like to speak to. I don't know.
It just did it again, so maybe that's not.
Oh, maybe it's Maybelline. Maybe it's the cord. Maybe it's.
Yeah, if it's, I hope it's not the cord.
I would really hope it's not the cord.
That's the cord I use.
Oh, then I doubt it's the cord. Maybe it's I don't know. It's the way I'm doing it.
Yeah, or it might just be, I don't know. So here's the deal: like this whole podcasting kit, it literally comes with like this massive like podcasting board with like a bunch of different like sliders on it. And
it's honestly impressive. To be honest.
It's wild.
I mean, they got the podcasting. Have you checked out the podcasting room in the library?
I haven't checked it out in the library. I know we actually we're supposed to have one in Bragg, but I know we've been having a lot of issues with it. Because I think like they had to shut it down. I don't know if they got it fixed or not, but I'm just going to try switching you over to a condenser. Whoa.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is that? Okay.
Okay, I don't think I can hear you at all now.
Yeah, that's exactly. Oh.
Let me try dynamic.
Dynamic. Oh, there we go.
Okay, I'm not going to lie, you actually sound like better.
Yes, yeah, that's a lot better, actually.
Yeah, holy cow.
I like that.
Oh my gosh.
Look at that. That's some magic right there.
Yeah, but I definitely
dynamic. Maybe my voice is dynamic.
Yeah, for sure. Let me see. Okay. I'm going to part of me kind of wishes that we weren't having to do this stuff like kind of on the fly, but hey, here we are. So here's the deal too, by the way. It's 7:58 now, 7:59. Oh my gosh, I'm still like coming in really fucking loud. Hold on. I'm just gonna, okay. Test. 1, 2, 3. Test. Okay, there we go. That's
test. Okay, well, yeah. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm coming through.
Yeah, you're
at least on my end. I don't know about you guys out there, mighty listener. You got a term for your fans?
Do you have a term? Oh,
are they the doghouse?
I just call them like friend. Really, that's kind of what I.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, no,
I like that.
Yeah, like it's
personal. It makes me feel connected. I like that.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Well, hi, friends.
Yeah. Well, also like you're tuning in, so like you're taking time to listen to me.
No, that makes sense. That completely makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, hey, you know what? Hold on. Let me go to advanced here. Let's see. Audio. Multi-track. Can I? Ooh. No. Let's see here. Processing. So the thing is, what I've been really wanting to do is trying to find a way to like while live, like mix you over into the left channel and me over into the right channel, because that's how we look.
I like that.
Yeah. And I try to do that with like my recordings as well, especially with the interviews. Mm-hmm. That I do on the kennel, but that's not always possible, of course. I wonder if maybe headphones. No. Sounds ? No. Okay. Yeah. Womp womp womp. I don't think it's going to be possible, but still, yeah. I mean, it's that's something that I'd like to try to do at least whenever I mix it in post. But anyways. I imagine we're probably going to be we're probably going to watch the debate like a little bit. Well, actually, I don't think.
It says it begins in 23 seconds.
Okay. Well, real quick, because actually I was just realizing now we're going to be having people call into over Discord for this.
Woo.
Woot woot.
That's awesome.
So it's going to be a little bit weird because they're going to be calling in during commercial break. So I don't think we can like delay it because then it's going to fuck up the whole.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Damn. Okay. Well, real quick, Ty, because I know listeners here on the Unnatural State of Affairs, they know who I'm planning to vote for. Who are you thinking about voting for?
Well, currently, I'd consider myself pretty undecided. I'm open to a lot of things. For when Kamala came out as running, Joe dropped out. I was leaning towards her as my go-to,
Yeah.
But kind of after she took her stance on Israel and kind of some of the other policies that, as she went into her talking points and less of piggybacking off of her being the vice president of the incumbent. I mean, like, I got to look at my options. November's still a little bit out, and I want to hear people out.
Yeah.
Because I'm open to voting for third party. It's just, nobody's showing me third party.
Yeah, no, I get. So the thing is, like, oh man, okay, I think it's finally starting now. They're getting through all. Okay, yeah, it's starting. But we'll touch back on that in a sec. Okay. All right. Here comes the debate. Let's get. Oh shoot! I should probably turn the volume up.
On ABC and around
that would
the
be
world
a good
tonight.
idea.
Vice President Kamala Harris and President Donald Trump are just moments away from taking the stage in this unprecedented race for president.
And I'm Lindsay Davis. Tonight's meeting could be the most consequential event of their campaigns, with Election Day now less than 2 months away. For Vice President Kamala Harris, this is her first debate since President Biden withdrew from the race on July 21st. Of course, that decision followed his debate against President Donald Trump in June.
Since
probably
then,
wants
to
this
make
race has
sure
taken on an
that he seems like
that brings us to the rules of tonight's debate. 90 minutes with 2 commercial breaks.
Yeah,
no
exactly.
topics or
So if he
questions
doesn't
have been
shake your
shared
hand,
with
it's going to look.
The candidates will
I
have 2
think the
minutes
last
to answer
time he did
questions,
not
and
shake
This is
Joe's.
the clock. That's what they'll
Well,
be
yeah,
seeing. 2 minutes for
like,
rebuttals.
yeah,
and 1 minute
There's
for
beef
follow-ups,
there. There's not much
clarifications,
history
or
between him and Kamala.
They're
Like,
right.
again, they've
They'll
never
only be
met in
turned on
person.
when it's their turn to
Allegedly,
speak.
they've
No
never met
pre-written
in
notes
person, which
allowed.
I think is
There is no audience here tonight
pretty
in this
insane.
hall at the
Yeah,
National
no, that's
Constitution Center.
wild.
This is an intimate setting for two candidates who have never met.
Oh yeah,
President Trump
that was,
won the coin toss. He chose to deliver the final closing statement of the evening.
I actually kind of
Vice
hate
President
that.
I like when they
Harris
take
selected the podium
questions
to the
from the
right.
audience.
So let's now welcome the candidates
the thing
to the
is,
stage.
like,
Vice President
we've talked
Kamala
about
Harris
this, like,
and President
in our
Donald
rhetoric
Trump.
and was it history of theory and rhetoric class? Like, part of like what makes
Kamala Harris. Let's have a good debate.
can't talk.
Thank you.
Welcome to you both. It's wonderful to have you. It's an honor to have you both here tonight.
Good evening. We are looking forward to a spirited and thoughtful debate.
She went
So
for
let's
that
get
handshake.
started.
Yeah.
I
Who's
want to
going
begin
right
tonight
to
with the issue that voters repeatedly say is their number one issue, and that is the economy and the cost of living in this country. Vice President Harris, you and President Trump were elected 4 years ago, and your opponent on the stage here tonight often asks his supporters, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? When it comes to the economy, do you believe Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago?
So I was raised as a middle-class kid, and I am actually the only person on this stage who has a plan that is about lifting up the middle class and working people of America. I believe in the ambition, the aspirations, the dreams of the American people. And that is why I imagine and have actually a plan to build what I call an opportunity economy. Because here's the thing. We know that we have a shortage of homes and housing, and the cost of housing is too expensive for far too many people. We know that young families need support to raise their children, and I intend on extending a tax cut for those families of $6,000, which is the largest child tax credit that we have given in a long time, so that those young families can afford to buy a crib, buy a car seat, buy clothes for their children. My passion, one of them, is small businesses. My mother raised my sister and me, but there was a woman who helped raise us. We call her our second mother. She was a small business owner. I love our small businesses. My plan is to give a $50,000 tax deduction to start up small businesses, knowing they are part of the backbone of America's economy. My opponent, on the other hand, his plan is to do what he has done before. which is to provide a tax cut for billionaires and big corporations, which will result in $5 trillion to America's deficit. My opponent has a plan that I call the Trump sales tax, which would be a 20% tax on everyday goods that you rely on to get through the month.
Because I'd like to know.
Economists have said that Trump sales tax would actually result for middle-class families in about $4,000 more a year, because of his policies and his ideas about what should be the backs of middle-class people paying for tax cuts for billionaires.
President Trump, I'll give you 2 minutes.
She just didn't answer.
First of all, I have no sales tax. That's an incorrect statement. She knows that. We're doing tariffs on other countries. Other countries are going to finally, after 75 years, pay us back for all that we've done for the world. And the tariff will be substantial in some cases. I took in billions and billions of dollars, as you know, from China. In fact, they never took the tariff off because there was so much money they can't. It would totally destroy everything that they've set out to do. They're taking in billions of dollars from China and other places. They've left the tariffs on. When I had it, I had tariffs, and yet I had no inflation. We've had a terrible economy because inflation has, which is really known as a country buster. It breaks up countries. We have inflation like very few people have ever seen before, probably the worst in our nation's history. We were at 21%, but that's being generous because many things are 50, 60, 70, and 80% higher than they were just a few years ago. This has been a disaster for people, for the middle class, but for every class. On top of that, we have millions of people pouring into our country from prisons and jails, from mental institutions and insane asylums, and they're coming in and they're taking jobs that are occupied right now by African Americans and Hispanics, and also unions. Unions are going to be affected very soon. And you see what's happening. You see what's happening with towns throughout the United States. You look at Springfield, Ohio. You look at Aurora in Colorado. They are taking over the towns. They're taking over buildings. They're going in violently. These are the people that she and Biden led into our country, and they're destroying our country. They're dangerous. They're at the highest level of criminality, and we have to get them out. We have to get them out fast. I created one of the greatest economies in the history of our country. I'll do it again and even better.
We are going to get to immigration and border security during this debate, but I would like to let Vice President Harris respond on the economy here.
Come over into this country. That's just not true. That's been proven time and time again to not be true. That talking point is honestly still racist. It feels racist. It sounds racist because that's what he's talking about. He's talking about actual people who aren't like that, and he's being like, well, they're from this place. They're trouble. That's I don't know. That's the only way I'm seeing that.
Yeah, no, and I mean, there's literally they literally did a study to show like
what we have done and
what I intend to do. Did a study and they've actually found that like people,
the American people. But I'm going to tell you on this
people who are like born here naturally, who are like naturalized citizens, actually commit more crimes than immigrants do. Because think about it, like if you're an immigrant who's like coming in, like.
Why would you want to make trouble? You're here to make a better life for yourself.
Exactly.
You're here for a reason. You're here to do something. You're here to like give yourself opportunity. Those people are usually, I mean, like I know people who came across the border. You know, they're usually extremely hardworking individuals who are just looking to, you know, provide for their families. Like it's just kind of the situation. And I think it's sad when people get up on a stage in front of millions of people and spout kind of that rhetoric about these people. Like
nothing to do with Project 2025. That's out there. I haven't read it. I don't want to read it purposely. I'm not going to read it.
Oh, he's walking back 2025, Project 2025.
Some good, some bad.
No, he's been trying to distance himself from it because, I mean,
everybody knows
most reasonable people have a problem with
it.
Cut
taxes very substantially.
And well, the thing is, like, it's just a blatant lie. Literally, people who are in Trump's administration wrote the damn Project 2025 manifesto.
Exactly.
Like, he's just fucking, and then on top of it too, like he put out this Agenda 47 thing, and like the majority of all Project 2025 stuff is in his new Agenda 47, which sounds just as fucking ominous as Project 2025.
Nobody's ever seen anything like it.
The only thing that's like different is that he doesn't say anything about abortion because he knows that's a massive fucking liability.
And people give me credit for rebuilding the military. They give me credit for a lot
rebuilding
of things,
the military.
But not enough credit for the great job
rebuilding?
we did with the pandemic.
We literally spend more than 10 countries combined on our fucking military. What do you mean we need to rebuild it? We have built it up too fucking much.
It's fucking huge. He's talking about it. That's ridiculous.
Has no plan for you.
And literally,
and when you look at his economic plan, it's all about tax breaks for the richest people.
There are people who say Trump is like this anti-war peace candidate.
Literally,
he's not.
Yeah, drone strikes increased by like what was it, like 170 fucking %? Like during his administration?
No. For the future of America. What Goldman Sachs has said is that Donald Trump's plan would make the economy worse. Mine would strengthen the economy. What the Wharton School has said is Donald Trump's plan would actually explode the deficit. 16 Nobel laureates have described.
I'm sorry, I hate to glaze a speaker,
as
but
that
as a
would
communication minor
increase
myself,
by the middle of next
I
year
can
would
tip my
invite a
hat to
recession.
establishing some
You
credibility
just have to
because
look
most of the
at
time
where we are
I just hear
and where we stand on the issues.
Trump,
And I'd
for
invite
instance,
you to know
no
that Donald Trump
numbers,
actually has no plan for you
sources,
because he is more interested in defending himself
he even opens
than
up
he is in
phrases
looking
with
out
the
for you.
well, I don't know, but I've heard.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I went to the Wharton School of
that
Finance.
worked in 2016 whenever he was going up against Hillary Clinton, who like everyone fucking hated. But like now that he's had the history of his own administration, it's like it just doesn't work for him anymore. It just doesn't. There was a time where that was charismatic, and I'll even admit, like, because like growing up, I was actually like very conservative. Like I was raised in like a Catholic house.
Yeah.
I literally went to an all boys Catholic high school.
Like
So
run, spot, run.
So anyways, like there was a time when Trump did appeal to me, and like I at the time I got it, but
she doesn't have a plan.
At the same, like just
Mr.
looking
President,
back on
I
it
do want
now,
to
like
drill down
even
on
the
something
people
you
did
both
like it,
brought
like they were
up. The
willing
Vice
to
President brought up
excuse
your
like
tariffs. You responded, and let's drill down on this
racist and
because
xenophobic
your plan is what she
bigotry.
calls is essentially a national sales tax.
And people,
Proposal
because
calls
that
for
was,
tariffs,
you
as
know,
pointed out here,
the sexist
on foreign
comments,
imports
the
across
little
board. You
ableist
recently
comments
said
when
that
he
you
that
might
little
double
like
your plan,
spasm
imposing
one.
tariffs up to
People like played it up.
20%
They're like,
on goods
you know,
coming
he's
into
saying
this
what
country.
nobody else will
As you know,
say.
many
He's
economists
saying,
say that
speaking from his
tariffs at
chest,
that
we need a
level
real
costs are
person
then
like
passed
that.
on to the consumer.
And you know, I don't
Vice
know
President Harris has argued
that that's a real
higher
person.
prices
I don't
on
know
gas,
that that's somebody I'd
food,
respect. I
clothing,
don't know that if that was my coworker, I'd
arguing
want
it
him
costs a
promoted.
typical family using $4,000 a year. Do you
Sorry,
believe
this is the
Americans
question.
can afford higher prices because of tariffs?
They're not going to have higher prices. What's going to have and who's going to have higher prices is China and all of the countries that have been ripping us off for years.
Well, those,
I was the
China
only
makes
president
stuff
ever.
for us. We buy Chinese
China was
products.
paying us hundreds of
That
billions
would
of
affect
dollars,
the average
and so
consumer.
were other countries.
Yeah.
And
I don't know if you
if
can
she
say,
doesn't
like,
them,
I don't-
they should have gone out and they should have immediately
I mean,
cut
it would
the
give me an
tariffs, but
incentive
those
to buy
tariffs are
more
there
American
3.5
products, but
years
I
now
think that
under
still
their
would raise prices
administration.
for me. I mean, like,
We are going to take in.
Oh wait, is he talking about his whole plan to like literally
billions
the
of
tariffs?
dollars? I
Yeah,
had no
that is
inflation,
such a dumb
virtually no
idea. Because the
inflation.
thing is,
they
like,
had the highest
I do
inflation
get.
perhaps in the history of our
I
country.
personally
because
get. I'm
I've
just
never
gonna
seen
like
a
turn
worse
this down
period of
just a
time.
little bit.
People can't go out and buy cereal or
I
bacon
do-
or eggs or
I do
anything
get
else.
the
people
idea
of
of like
our
putting
country
tariffs
are
on like certain
absolutely dying with
imported
what they've done.
products.
They've destroyed the economy.
But doing
And
what
all you
Trump's
have to
doing,
do
where
is
he's
look
like
at a
just
poll.
doing it
The
across
polls
the
say
board with like
80 and
anything that's
85 and even
imported,
90%
that's
that the
gonna
Trump
like
economy
raise
was great,
like
that their
again. That's like
economy
another
was
thing that's just gonna
terrible.
Vice
lead
President
to
Harris, I do
massive
wanna ask for your
inflation
response, and you're right, the
because
president said there,
it's
because
literally
the Biden
like
administration
if you
did
do it
keep
like immediately
a
like
number of the
that,
Trump tariffs in
like
place. So how do you
we're basically
respond?
gonna be raising the
Well,
prices
let's
of
be clear
everything that's
that the Trump
imported, which is like, I mean, my God, like
It's a
how
large
many-
amount,
yeah, I mean, like literally
we've ever
everything that
seen
we
in the
have here is
history
just
of
going to become a
America.
hell of a lot more
He
expensive because of
invited
that.
trade
And that's
wars.
not how you
wanna
bring
talk
jobs,
about
and you have to
his
like
deal
be very
with
specific
China.
about what
he
products
ended
you
up
do
doing is
place
under
those
Donald
tariffs
Trump's
on.
presidency,
And
he ended up selling
this is the thing
American
too.
chips
People love to think that
China
Trump is like this
to
fucking
help
brilliant
them
businessman.
improve and
There is
modernize their
no way
military.
he
Basically
his
sold us
casino
out.
like he had
When a
casinos that
policy
went
about China
bankrupt.
should
Failed.
be in making
If
sure
you
the
can't
United
even
States of
run a
America
fucking
wins the
casino,
competition for the 21st
like,
century,
I don't know if
which
you're a
means
big economy
focusing
man.
on the details
You know,
of what
I
that
never
requires,
believed that. I never
focusing
believed
on
that. He didn't sell that
relationships
to
with
me.
our allies,
He didn't sell that to
focusing on
me.
investing in
All I ever
American-based
heard was, you know,
technology so
failed
that
business
we
after
win the
failed
race
business
on
after failed
AI,
business.
on
Yeah.
quantum computing,
Fraud fraud after fraud.
On what
it's
we
like,
need to do
come on, I don't know if I trust you to
workforce
do these things
so
that you're
that we don't
promising.
end
I don't know
up
that
having
you're
the-
giving
on
me
the short end
the
of the
resources
stick
to trust you
in
on the
terms
things
of
that you're saying.
workers'
Yeah.
rights.
It's like,
But what
I don't
Donald
know.
Trump did,
Yeah,
let's talk about this,
yeah, and
with
that's-
COVID,
And especially
he actually
following, you know, his
thanked
last
President
administration, I feel like
for what he did during
he's-
COVID. Look
like
at
you
his
said,
tweet.
he can't really
Thank you,
tout these same
President Xi,
points because they just, you
exclamation
know.
point,
Yeah.
when we know
Yeah, no,
that
after a
Xi
while
was
they just become very
responsible
fucking
for
hollow, and that's
lacking and not giving
especially
us
whenever I
transparency
think it really
about
just
the
turned everyone
origins
off,
of
and
COVID.
I personally met
First of all, they bought the
Republicans
chips
in my
from
own life, like
Taiwan.
after
We
January
hardly make
6th, like they
chips
just saw
anymore because of
what happened. They're just like,
philosophies like they have and policies
no,
like
yeah,
they
yeah,
have. Why does it hurt?
exactly.
Because she has
This dude's
no
like
policy.
really off his
Everything
rocker.
that she believed 3 years ago.
But then
and 4
look at
years
the
ago is out
Republican
the window.
options. There
She's
aren't
gone to my
really
philosophy. In
anybody.
fact,
There's
I was
not
gonna send
really
her a
anybody
MAGA
else.
hat. She's
You
gone
know?
to my philosophy.
yeah,
but
I mean,
So-
Nikki Haley
She ever
tried
got
to be
elected,
that,
she
but
cheated. And
God, Nikki
it
Haley is
will
literally
be
just
the
like,
end of our
I mean, she was
country.
kind of like the
She's a
thing
Marxist.
that
Everybody knows she's a Marxist.
people who went to
Her
Trump
father's a Marxist
didn't like about all the other
professor.
Marxist?
Republicans.
What is he talking about?
He taught her well.
Who's he calling a
But
Marxist?
when you look at
I
what
don't
she's
know.
I don't
done
think there's a
to our
Marxist in the
country,
fucking
when
room.
You look at these millions
Marx
and millions
literally,
of people that are pouring into our
if
country
anyone
monthly,
supports any
where
kind
it's,
of
I
like
believe,
government
21 million
intervention
people, not the
to
15
Trump,
that people
they're
say.
automatically a
And I think it's a lot
Marxist.
higher than
Like
21. That's
Kamala
bigger than
is
New York State
far
pouring
from
in.
being
And just
a
look at what they're
Marxist. I
doing
mean,
to our
literally,
country.
she
They're criminals.
backed off
Many of these
Medicare
people
for all.
coming in
Like
and
I don't know how you
Exactly.
get less
Marxist
Marxist
than
than that.
that.
You mentioned
No,
before,
it
we'll
doesn't
talk
get
about
much lower.
immigration later. Well, bad immigration is the worst thing that can happen to our economy.
The worst thing that can happen to our economy, really?
She has
Bro, that is
destroyed
literally
our
the
country
best
with
thing that could
policy
happen.
that's
Like
insane.
that brings in so
Homeless
many people
policy
with like
that
different
say
ideas,
they
or
have to
if
hate our
anything, just
country.
brings in more workers. And granted, right
I
now,
wanna
I
turn to
mean,
the
people
issue of
see
abortion.
the increase in
President Trump,
immigration
you
as a way
often
to,
touted that
you know,
were able to
employ
kill Roe v. Wade.
exploited
Last year, you
workers,
said that you
but
were
still,
proud
like
to
that
be the
brings
most
in
pro-life president
employment.
in
Like
American
that brings in
history.
work.
Then last month, you said that your administration would be great for women and their reproductive rights. In your home state of Florida, you surprised many with regard to your 6-week abortion ban because you initially had said that it was too short. And you said, quote, I'm going to be voting that we need more than 6 weeks. But then the very next day, you reversed course and said you would vote to support the 6-week ban. Vice President Harris says that women shouldn't trust you on the issue of abortion because you've changed your position so many times. Therefore, why should they trust you?
Well, the reason I'm doing that vote is because the plan is, as you know, the vote is, they have abortion in the 9th month. They even have, and you can look at the governor of West Virginia, the previous
That
governor
is
of West
literally
Virginia,
a
not the
lie.
current
I don't know
governor, is doing
who
an
needs to
excellent
hear
job.
that at this
But the
point.
governor
But
before,
they do
he
not
said,
do abort.
"The
They have
baby will
never
be
done
born, and
abortions
we
at
will
9
decide what to
months.
do with the baby."
Literally,
In other
Roe
words,
v.
we'll
Wade
execute
was,
the
hey,
baby.
first
And that's why I did
trimester,
that,
you
because
have a
that
right
predominates.
to an
Because
abortion.
they're
The second
radical. The Democrats are
trimester,
radical
we'll let
in
the
that.
states
And
decide
her
that.
vice
Third
presidential
trimester,
pick, which I think is a
only under
horrible
very
pick, by
extreme
the way, for our
circumstances.
country.
No
And it's also,
one.
you look at the numbers, it's
But
not
her vice
happening. It's just
presidential
not
pick
happening.
says
You look at the numbers, it's not
abortion in
happening.
the 9th month is absolutely fine.
And when
He
it does
also
happen,
says
and when it does happen, you look at the
execution
situation,
after birth. It's
and you're like,
execution,
oh,
no
well,
longer
you
abortion
know,
because the baby is born.
that was a
is
complicated
okay.
situation because
And that's
nobody
not
is
okay
about
with
to
me.
have a baby.
Hence the vote. But what I did
Completely
is something
unprepared, not
for
even expecting. If you're
52
that
years they've been
pregnant,
trying to
you're
get
expecting
Roe
it.
v.
You're
Wade
expecting it.
into the states.
It is absurd
through the,
to try to make it out to be
genius
that
and
somebody is
heart
on a
and
whim being
strength
like,
of
well, I
6
guess I'll get an
Supreme Court
abortion.
justices,
That's just not the
we
decision
were
that's being
able
made.
to
That's
do
not
that. Now,
how
I believe
people are
in the
working. That's
exceptions
not
for
how it has
rape,
worked. It's
incest,
not
and
what's
life
going
of the
on.
mother. I
Yeah.
And I
believe
think
strongly in
painting
it.
that
Ronald Reagan did
unrealistic
also.
kind of lens on it
85%
is
of
just
Republicans do.
it's not. People aren't buying
Very
that anymore.
important.
Yeah,
But we were
no,
able to get it,
and
now
I mean,
states
even
are
like, I mean,
voting
you just
on
even
it.
look at the
And for the
polls on the
first
issue.
time,
Like most
you're
people now,
gonna
after
see, look,
seeing
this
like
is an issue
what is
that's torn
happening
our
now
country
since
apart
Roe v.
for
Wade was
52
overturned,
years.
like
Every
I mean,
legal
it's just
scholar,
it is
every Democrat,
very
every
popular
Republican,
to
liberal,
at least
conservative,
like
they
have
all
like
wanted this issue
a right
be
to
brought back
abortion,
to the
right?
states where
Like
the people
that's
could vote. And that's what
just a
happened.
very popular thing, and
Now,
he's just
Ohio,
coming out saying,
the vote was somewhat
I support the
liberal.
unpopular
Kansas,
thing. It's
the
like,
vote was somewhat
bro,
liberal, much
that
more
is
liberal than people
literally literally you just shooting yourself in the foot. But hey, you know
voting.
what?
It's the vote
Go
of the
for it.
people,
Go.
though. It's not
You
tied
know.
up in the federal
I don't know if
government.
everybody.
I did a
He's
great
right now.
service
He's
in
talking
doing
about.
it. It
He's
took
saying
courage
that
to do it.
everybody
And the
wanted
Supreme
the
Court had
it
great
up to the
courage in
states.
doing it.
I don't know
And
that
I
that was
give
true. I
tremendous
don't know that that's
credit
true.
to 6 justices.
There is
maybe
no
everyone,
state in this
maybe
country where
everyone
it is
in
legal
his
to kill a
circles
baby
wanted to leave it
after
up to the
it's born.
states,
Madam Vice
but
President, I want to get your
no,
response
not
to President Trump.
not
Well,
everyone.
as I said, you're going to hear a bunch of lies. and
Because
that's
I mean, I
not
can definitely tell
actually
you,
a
people here in
surprising
Tennessee, They didn't want to leave it up to the
understand how we
states
got
because
here.
there was like
Donald Trump
it was like in 2019,
hand-selected
they passed
3
like one of
members
those
the
trigger
United States
bans.
Supreme Court with the
So
intention that they would
yeah, I
undo the
mean,
protections of
obviously
Roe
no
v.
one
Wade.
here wanted that to happen because they knew
And
as soon
they
as
did
Roe v. Wade
exactly
got
as he
overturned,
intended. And now in
yeah.
over 20 states, there are Trump abortion bans, which make it criminal for a doctor or nurse to provide health care. In one state, it provides prison for life. Trump abortion bans that make no exception even for rape and incest, which understand what that means. A survivor of a crime of violation to their body does not have the right to make a decision about what happens to their body next. That is immoral. And one does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree. The government, and Donald Trump certainly, should not be telling a woman what to do with her body. I have talked with women around our country. You want to talk about this is what people wanted? Pregnant women who want to carry a pregnancy to term, suffering from a miscarriage, being denied care in an emergency room because the healthcare providers are afraid they might go to jail, and she's bleeding out in a car in the parking lot. She didn't want that. Her husband didn't want that. A 12 or 13-year-old survivor of incest being forced to carry a pregnancy to term. They don't want that.
it looks like a mom
And
just
I
shaming her son.
When Congress passes a bill,
And he's like shaking
to
his
put back
head
in
and like
place the
he's trying not to
protections of Roe
look.
v. Wade, as President of the United States, I will proudly sign it into law. But understand, if Donald Trump were to be reelected, he will sign a national abortion ban. Understand, in his Project 2025, there would be a national abortion, a monitor that would be monitoring your pregnancies, your miscarriages. I think the American people believe that certain freedoms, in particular the freedom to make decisions about one's own body, should not be made by the government.
Thank you, Vice President Harris.
Well, there she goes again. It's a lie. I'm not signing a ban, and there's no reason to sign a ban because we've gotten what everybody wanted. Democrats, Republicans, and everybody else, and every legal scholar wanted it to be brought back into the states, and the states are voting.
Is that true? I don't know if every legal scholar agrees on much.
Apart.
You know what I'm saying? Let alone something like that. I don't know.
Something that nobody thought was possible. The states are now voting. What she says is an absolute lie. And as far as the abortion ban, no, I'm not in favor of abortion ban, but it doesn't matter because this issue has now been taken over by the states.
Would you veto a national abortion ban if it came to your desk?
Well, I won't have to because, again...
What do you mean? No, you're not going to answer the question?
She'll go back to Congress. She'll never get
I won't have to.
I'm not going to lie. That was a bit of a smooth dodge. A dodge, nonetheless, but it was a smooth dodge.
50-50 in both.
Well, I won't have to.
She's not going to get the vote. She can't get the vote. She won't even come close to it. So it's just talk. You know what it reminds me of? When they said they're going to get student loans terminated, and it ended up being a total catastrophe.
Oh, wait, is he going to do it?
And then, I think probably her boss.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
He spends all his time on the beach. But look, her boss went
out. Talk about something everybody wants.
We'll do it again.
By the way,
we'll do it a different
why was it a disaster? Because of the judges that he put on the Supreme Court decided, actually,
hey, you can't do that.
Yeah, like this whole idea.
And he's taking credit for their last thing. So I don't understand. Are you for? Is the Supreme Court working with you?
People that had to pay off their student loans,
he just
they
goes
didn't
all
get
over
it for
the place
free.
on that one.
But they were saying it's the same way that they talk about that they talk about abortion.
But if I could just get a yes or no, because your running mate, J.D. Vance, has said that you would veto it if you did.
Well, I didn't discuss it with J.D. In all faurness,
I mean, that's your vice, man.
And I don't mind if he has a certain view, but I think he was speaking for me. But I really didn't.
Well,
look,
would you?
We don't have to discuss it because she'd never be able to get it, just like she couldn't get student loans. They couldn't get student loans.
We don't have to discuss it.
You shouldn't have to discuss it because I know a very unpopular position and I don't want to actually come out and say that.
They can never get this approved. So it doesn't matter what she says about going to Congress.
Literally the episode of Veep I'm on.
But the fact is that for years,
they're literally like going back and forth about abortion. Like, well, you know,
and we did
they just
something
can't
that
say
everybody
it.
said couldn't be done. And now you have
they want to win, bro. That's absurd, man. That's absurd.
Yeah.
Apologies to Deanna. You got me that box set of the entire series. I still have not watched it yet. I will get around to it at some point.
Reinstating the protections of Roe v. Wade. And as you rightly mentioned, nowhere in America is a woman carrying a pregnancy to term and asking for an abortion. That is not happening. It's insulting to the women of America. And understand what has been happening under Donald Trump's abortion bans. Couples who pray and dream of having a family are being denied IVF treatments. What is happening in our country? Working people, working women who are working 1 or 2 jobs, who can barely afford childcare as it is, have to travel to another state to get on a plane sitting next to strangers to go and get the health care she needs. Barely can afford to do it, and what you are putting her through is unconscionable. And the people of America have not, the majority of Americans believe in a woman's right to make decisions about her own body.
It's like he's like,
and that is why
Mom,
in every state where
Exactly.
this issue has been on the ballot, in red and blue states both, the people
before he became
of
president, I'm
America
pretty
have
sure
voted for
Trump
freedom.
himself,
Vice President Harris,
Excuse me, I
thank
have to
you.
was totally
respond.
fine with
Another lie.
abortion.
It's another lie.
He literally
I have been a
was
leader
just
on
caving to
IVF,
his
which is
base,
fertilization.
Which,
The IVF,
is kind of
I have been
spineless,
a leader.
honestly.
It
In
is.
fact,
well, that's
when they
you know
got
that's
a
what
very
they like.
negative
I mean, look
decision
at
on
JD
IVF
Vance.
from the Alabama
He
courts.
was
I
being
saw
like,
the
oh
people
yeah,
of
Trump,
Alabama
that guy
and the
sucks.
legislature
But look
voted
where he's at
it
now.
in.
Yeah.
You know,
I've
they
been a
like
leader
people like
on
that.
Literally,
That's
They know
that's
that,
what's
and
getting
everybody
rewarded
else
over
knows
here.
it. I have
Literally
been a
just
leader on
sucking
fertilization,
Trump's nuts.
IVF. And the other
Dude.
thing,
He's about to get a little whooping when he
You
gets
should
home
ask.
for that abortion
Would you allow
comment.
abortion in
He's
the
gonna
8th
put on his
month,
mascara
9th month, 7th
for
month?
Daddy Trump.
Okay, would you do that?
He looks pretty on camera.
Why don't you ask her
Why-
that
why
question?
don't you
That's
answer
the
the
problem.
question?
I gotta hand it.
Because
No, I gotta
under
hand it to him. I
Answer
think
the
I think you
question.
need to get some
You
makeup
could do
tips
abortions
from
in the
JD
7th
Vance.
month, the 8th
I've
month,
thought about
the 9th
wearing
month,
makeup
and
for my show,
probably
but
after birth.
like
just look
too
at
much
the
work,
governor,
too
former
I could use
governor
some. I got a
of
little bit of
Virginia.
a.
The
you
governor
can't
of
see it. You
Virginia
can't see
said
it.
we
So I
put
don't
the
need to talk
baby
about it.
aside and then we
Yeah.
determine
So
what
you
we
see
want
it,
to do with
comment
the baby.
below. It's
Thank
interaction.
you.
Yeah, see,
We're
the
going to
friends
turn
who-
now to immigration
my friends
and
listen
border
to the
security.
show
We know it's
or
an issue
watch,
that's important
especially
to
those who
Republicans,
watch the
Democrats,
show.
voters
They
across
get
the
a
board
nice
in this
full
country.
close-up
Vice
of
President
everything.
Harris, you were
Y'all-
tasked by
y'all
President
put up with
Biden
a-
with getting
y'all
to the
put up
root
with a
causes
shit
of
ton.
migration from Central America. We know that illegal border crossings reached a record high in the Biden administration. This past June,
I feel like this is
President
ground.
Biden
Didn't we already
imposed tough
touch on
new
this
asylum
subject?
restrictions. We
Like-
know the numbers since then have dropped significantly. But my question to you tonight is, why did the administration wait until 6 months before the election to act? And would you have done anything differently from President Biden on this?
So I'm the only person on this stage who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations for the trafficking of guns, drugs, and human beings. And let me say that the United States Congress, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Senate, came up with a border security bill which I supported. And that bill would have put 1,500 more border agents on the border to help those folks who are working there right now overtime, trying to do their job. It would have allowed us to stem the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States. I know there are so many families watching tonight who have been personally affected by the surge of fentanyl in our country. That bill would have put more resources to allow us to prosecute transnational criminal organizations for trafficking in guns, drugs, and human beings. But you know what
The
happened?
YDSA
That bill?
Discord is popping
Donald
off,
Trump
and
got on the phone,
I love
called
it.
up some folks in
What they
Congress
saying?
and said, kill the bill. And you know why?
It's so much I
Because
can't even like
he'd
keep
prefer
up with
to
it.
run
That
on a
makes
problem
sense.
instead of
They-
fixing a problem.
Yeah, they definitely had a
And
lot to say on the
understand,
abortion stuff.
this comes at a time where the people of our country actually need a leader who engages in solutions, who actually addresses the problems at hand. But what we have in the former president is someone who would prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And I'll tell you something, he's going to talk
sorry,
about
I don't
immigration
know
a
if I
lot
don't
tonight,
know,
even
but
when it's not the subject that is being
fentanyl
raised.
actually
And
is
I'm
the
going to actually
main,
do something
like,
really unusual, and I'm going to invite you
is it
to attend one of
international
Donald Trump's
criminals
rallies,
bringing in
'cause it's a
fentanyl
really interesting
across
thing to
like the
watch.
border?
You
Is
will
that
see
the
during
issue?
the course of his
'Cause
rallies,
I don't,
he talks
I
about
didn't
fictional
believe that to be
characters
the
like Hannibal
case.
Lecter.
Yeah,
We'll talk
so
about
like that.
windmills cause cancer.
I'm gonna like turn down a little
And
bit.
what you will
That-
also notice is that
so yeah,
people
that
start
is part of
leaving
the
his
issue.
rallies early
The
out of
solution
exhaustion
though
and
is
boredom.
not
And I will
the
tell you, the one
solution
thing
to
you will
the
not
whole
hear him
fentanyl
talk
issue
about
is not
you will not
just
hear him
like
talk
cracking
about
down
your
on the
needs, your
border
dreams,
and like
and your
no, I
and your
mean
desires.
really you need
And I'll tell you, I
to
believe
address
you
the
deserve
drug
a president who
addiction
actually puts you first. And I
epidemic
pledge to
here
you
within
that I
this
will.
country.
Exactly.
President
For
Harris,
one,
thank you.
stop
President Trump, on that
fucking
point, I wanna
locking
get your
up
response.
Well, I would like to
people
respond.
for
Why did
consuming
drug
illegal.
offenses.
kill that
Yeah, I
terrorist
mean that's
successfully
literally
so
like
that would have put
you're
thousands of
literally
additional agents and officers on the
criminalizing
border.
First, let me
a
respond
mental
to the
health
rallies.
condition.
Exactly.
People
Like
start
you
leaving,
don't
people don't go
treat
to her
that by
rallies. There's
just
no reason to
tossing
go.
people into prison and
the
crossing your
people that
fingers and
do
hoping
go,
for the
she's
best.
busing them in and paying them to be there.
Personally,
that's not
and
helpful.
Then
yeah,
showing
so
them
personally,
in
I
a
think,
different light.
and I think this
So
actually have to
she
happen
can't
in
talk about that.
tandem
People don't
with
leave my
like
rallies.
the
We have
establishment of the
biggest
single payer
rallies, the
healthcare
most
system.
incredible rallies in the history of
Because
politics.
Oregon
That's
did try to
because
do
people
this,
wanna
they actually did
take their
decriminalize
country
all
back.
drugs,
Our
but
country
they had
is
this
being
issue in
lost. We're a
Portugal to an
failing
extent
nation.
has had this
And
issue
it
as well. I
happened
don't know if they
3.5
fixed it.
years ago. And what's going on here?
You need
you're gonna
to
end up
be
in
sure
World
that
War III, just to
whenever
go
you
into another
decriminalize
subject,
all drugs,
what they have done to our country
you
by
also
allowing
need to
these
be able to
millions
provide
and
like
millions of people to come
healthcare
into our
facilities
country
for people to
and
like
look
go
at what's
to whenever
happening
like
to
they
the
are
towns
caught like
all
using
over
drugs. That's the whole
United
thing.
States. And a lot of
Whenever you
towns don't wanna talk.
decriminalize
Not gonna be
something,
Aurora
it's not like
or
you're saying,
Springfield.
hey,
A
it's
lot of
okay
towns
to
don't
just
wanna
use
talk
whatever
about it
drugs you
because they're so
want.
embarrassed
You're
by it.
saying,
In
hey,
Springfield,
we're not going to send you to
they're
prison,
eating
but
the
we are going to
dogs,
require
the
you to
people
like
that came
go
in,
see a
they're
mental
eating
health
the
Yeah,
cats.
specialist.
They're eating
Something to actually help
They're
them.
eating
Yeah.
the pets.
Now, part of
the
it too
people
is,
that
and
live
I'm
there.
a little more
And this is what's
radical
happening
on
in our country, and it's a shame. As
Who's
far
eating
as
pets?
rallies are
What is-
concerned,
who's-
as far
whoa.
as the reason
I'm sorry,
they
could you
go
run
is
it
they
back
like
for a
what I
second?
say.
Actually,
They wanna
I have
bring
no
our
idea what
country
that
back.
was.
They want to make America
I'd love
great
to, but the
again.
thing
Very
is-
simple
it's
phrase. Make
commercial
America
break.
great
Commercial
Yeah,
break.
She's
because we wanna be
destroying
sure we
this
can
country,
call
and if she
people.
becomes president,
I
this
think we'll
country
keep
doesn't
it.
have a
I'll watch
chance
it
of
later. I'll watch the
success.
clip later.
Not only
Yeah.
success, will end up being Venezuela on steroids.
Venezuela on steroids.
Okay. I'm not going to share. Or I'm not going to share this comment, but I got a message from my sister. She went to Harvard Law School. Do not read it because I don't want to like share it publicly. But it's
The
funny.
people on television say my dog was taken and used for food. So maybe he said that, and maybe that's a good thing to say for a city manager.
Literally.
Yeah,
People on
literally.
television
But
say
shout
my
out.
dog was
so
eaten
funny.
by-
Thank you.
Again, the Springfield city manager says there's no evidence.
It's
of
such
that.
a-
Vice
like,
President
that's
Harris,
such
I'll let
an
you respond to the rest
extreme.
of what you've heard.
You're
gonna-
talking
I'm
about
gonna respond.
extreme.
Oh shoot.
You know, this is, I think, one of the reasons
I need to
why
cut that
in
out.
this
I'll have to, like,
election,
bleep that
I
out.
actually have the endorsement of 200 Republicans who have formerly worked with President Bush, Mitt Romney, and John McCain, including the endorsement of former Vice President Dick Cheney and Congress
here we
member
go.
Liz Cheney. And if you want to
Wait,
really
was she
know
just bragging?
the inside track,
No!
the former president is.
I'm gonna go-
She's like, and even Dick Cheney likes me.
Even Dick Cheney likes me. The guy who literally orchestrated the Iraq War, which like fucking, oh my God. Kamala,
absurd.
shut the fuck up.
That's absurd.
Oh God.
Said he is dangerous and unfit.
Yeah, vote for me. I'm endorsed
His
by
former
Dick Cheney. I wouldn't put that on a
Secretary of
poster.
Defense has said
I don't know.
The republic would never survive.
Honestly.
Would not
another
have that on my
Trump
front lawn.
term.
Just saying.
Yeah,
And
that
when we listen
that is
to this
so
kind
fucking.
of rhetoric,
If anyone doesn't know
when
just
the
how
issues
bad
that affect
Dick
the
Cheney
American
is,
people are not being
go watch.
addressed,
Like,
I think the
I guess I
choice is
can't
clear in
call
this
people to
election.
action. I might need to
Trump, I'll give you
censor
a
this
quick
part
minute
as
to
well.
respond.
Thank
Honestly,
you,
with how much we've
because
been cursing
when I
and
hear
how
that-
many calls to
See,
action
I'm
we
a different kind of a
probably like
person.
have just
I
like
fired most of those
unintentionally
people.
done. We might just need to
Not
keep
so
this
graciously.
online
They
the more I
did
think about it.
bad
but
things or
I
a
don't
bad
know.
job.
It's
I'm
okay. I'm
okay.
used to being
They
censored.
never fired one person. They didn't fire anybody having to do with Afghanistan.
I'm
and the
canceling you,
Taliban
Ty.
and
I'm
the
canceling
13
us both. Okay.
Oh, about time.
We're just
Now I can start making the real money.
killed, and I got to know
Look,
the parents
Netflix,
and the
here I
family.
come. I'm gonna do a
They
stand-up
didn't fire-
special.
they should have
All
fired
right. Well, you know,
all
I
those
hear
Cancel with die.
all those
I
top
hear tenant
people,
media.
because
You've
that
heard about
was
the whole
one of
thing
the
with
most
tenant media, right?
incompetently
No.
handled
Oh
situations
shit, dog.
anybody
Okay,
has ever
that's the whole
seen.
thing.
So
So it's literally a
when somebody
company.
does a
It's
bad job,
they're technically
I'd fire
they're technically
him.
based
And you
out
take
of
a guy like
Nashville,
Esper, he
but they've
was
had
no
this whole
good, I fired
scandal.
him, so he
The
writes a
Department of
book.
Justice
Another one
like
writes a book,
dropped
because with me they can
this
write books, but nobody
indictment
else can.
on. It's on Russian
They have done
spies,
such a poor
but
I know what you're talking about.
You know,
we released that. What's the dude's name? It was a bunch of conservative talking heads.
Yeah,
have been sponsored by Russia.
Tim Pool,
Tim Pool,
Dave Rubin, and a couple other guys. Yeah. So the thing is, it's unknown because they refer to commentators anonymously in the indictment itself. So we don't know specifically who, like, which commentators are being referred to in the indictment.
So let's get back to your deportation.
But you know, all like the commentators who have been involved with Tenet Media have just kind of like
President Trump
just like covered their asses and just kind of come out and said, "Hey, we don't know, we didn't know anything about this. We didn't know a goddamn thing about Russian money. Just yeah." So
there it is.
Anyways, I don't know. I'm sure Tenet Media is looking for new people right now. With like,
dude, yeah, I just got canceled. Like that could be huge for me.
Yeah, just sell it to the Russians.
What was it? It was a minute ago.
It is much higher because of them.
They allowed conservative woman on TikTok who like said the N-word and then like doubled down, like tripled down, and just kept kind of like immediately overnight transformed into a conservative talking head.
By their
countries, sorry, like
there was this woman. Oh my god, I cannot remember her name for the life of me.
Tulsi Gabbard.
Yes, she got canceled for like saying the N-word. She was like,
all over the world.
Yeah,
way down.
I'm not taking that back. I meant what I said. We have a real problem in this country.
Wait, Tulsi Gabbard said that?
No, I don't think it was Tulsi. No, it was somebody else. It's not Tulsi Gabbard. That's
Candace Owens.
No.
She's always been
I'm telling you, no. She wasn't like a talking head. She just got interviewed on Fox News a couple of times after it, and kind of like tried to spin off into like a journalistic type of.
There's never been anything done like this at all. They've destroyed.
Let me get my facts straight, guys.
Millions
fact
of people.
check. You don't want me spreading misinformation on
Crime is down.
I love spreading
all over the world,
misinformation.
except here. Crime here is
No, I don't.
The fraudulent statements that they
Sorry, I
make.
forgot. This
Crime
isn't
in
Tyson
country
Stace.
is
Tyson
through the
Stace
roof.
loves
And we have a new form
misinformation.
of crime.
Our national state of affairs is very serious.
Yes. The National State of Affairs is a very serious program from a very serious journalism major who never curses, never says anything edgy on that show at all. It is all factual information with absolutely no bias whatsoever, because that is a totally possible thing for someone to be, is totally unbiased.
18,000 jobs that they said
He's talking about crime. Sorry, crime always gets my attention because I think it's crazy how far people will go to say that we've been getting worse in crime.
Oh no, that's actually been going down.
I know it's been going down since the 90s, man. It's really been on a good trend. I mean, it bumped up a little bit. Like, I mean, I'm talking the greater scream. It bumped up a little bit with COVID.
Yeah.
But it's still even coming down from that. It's just that, you know,
is in November at his own
the 24-hour news cycle. It's kind of hard to cover something,
where each person
but
stands
crime's always happening.
On the issue of
there's always a crime somewhere,
for the rule of law,
and you know that makes news. I guess that's something to talk about. So, you know, we're going to talk about crime, and people are going to be like, "Man, crime's really bad in my area. Crime's really bad in here. Crime's really bad." But then they never want to talk about the worst cities. They never want to be like these democratic cities, and I'm like, well, you know, these democratic cities in red states are really suffering a really bad like system, and you know they're not getting the help and support that they need. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
it's just, you know.
And address
that's
the needs of the American
wildest things. Like, crime is always the worst in red states.
About the housing shortage, which I have a plan for. Address what we must do to support our small businesses. Address bringing down the price of groceries. But frankly, the American people are exhausted with this same old tired playbook.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
Excuse me. Every one of those cases was started by them against their political opponent. And I'm winning most of them, and I will win the rest on appeal.
What?
And you saw that with the decision that
on
came
appeal.
down just recently. I'm winning most of them.
On
but
appeal.
Those are cases,
don't worry. It'll come back fine. It'll come back in my favor. Just trust me on that, bro.
Yeah, especially if I get back in office, it'll definitely swing back in my favor.
I'll make sure it does. I don't know if you heard though. I mean, like he's already like basically like stacking the cards to make sure that he can like overturn the election like more effectively. So there was this report that basically came out. So all right, first I should note Rachel Maddow, which by the way, Rachel Maddow, not a big fan of her. I mean, she's just like a blatant like standard liberal talking on MSNBC. So I will.
My parents eat her up, and I've seen her for years, bro. I've seen her for years, and listen.
To try and win an election.
I know. She I'll watch that shit and I'll be like, oh, this is almost reasonable, and then she'll keep talking and I'll be like,
notion of weaponization.
well, okay. Okay.
Yeah, no, Rachel Maddow, not a big fan of her, but she did do a really good segment recently where she, and I saw this on Secular Talker, the Kyle Kalinske show, if you listen to the podcast
if he were to enter the White House again.
Trump has basically been like setting up. He's basically been making sure that like there are 2020 election deniers being put in like election commissioner like positions in swing state
for
counties.
Members of our military.
There are like I think it was from a Rolling Stone article that like 70 of them question mark.
Because certainly
I'm
we
gonna
know
fact
now
check
the
myself.
court won't stop
but no,
it.
like he is planning on just denying the results if he does lose.
Vice President Harris, in your last run
like
for
we're
president,
basically going to see some kind of.
This is the one that
again,
weaponized,
bro.
not me.
It's like so bad for democracy. Like I don't know, sore losers are not great for the whole system thing.
Yeah,
how can you represent people that don't trust enough to throw in their vote?
Russia
well, and like the thing is, like it's not as if like our current system without some election denier or like again like as you put it, sore loser. It's not as if like our current system would even be working effectively without him. Because without him, we basically just have this standardized, legalized corruption that the Supreme Court ushered in. I mean, granted, actually, if you want a great podcast to like learn about like the history of like corruption in the modern United States political age, there's a new podcast that's out called Master Plan. It's by a guy named David Sirota. He actually co-wrote the screenplay for Don't Look Up. Yeah, and he runs like his own news outlet now. It's called The Lever, and yeah, so far the podcast has been amazing. Like it goes all the way back to the Nixon administration, whenever Watergate first broke, and he just like kind of takes you on this ride where he's like literally they have someone like go into the archives of this guy named not Jerome Powell, Lewis Powell. Jerome Powell's the current.
Let me tell you, I grew up a middle class kid.
I forget the official name of the position Jerome Powell's in. I believe it's. I believe he's out of the SEC. I think the Security and Exchange Commission or the Treasury. I can't remember which one. Anyways, that's Jerome Powell. No, he goes to the he has someone go into the archives of Lewis Powell. Lewis Powell wrote this memo called the Powell Memorandum, and it is basically this manifesto that was circulated within the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, and it basically called for like. It was basically like this very like anti-communist kind of like paranoia that inspired it. And he's like, listen, y'all, these students on college campuses, they're getting way out of hand, promoting way too many Marxist ideas. So we need to make sure that corporations can promote a pro-business view within American society.
What a great idea!
Yeah, exactly. Like, so that's where he like kind of normalized. That's where he basically like inspired this whole idea of like we need to make sure that like we can get corporations to like buy out politicians, and so that was basically the inspiration for our current system that we have today.
Yeah, which is a fantastic system. In case you guys haven't been paying attention.
Oh yeah, it's totally working. I mean,
everybody's really happy, and everything's going really well. Yeah, for
everyone loves the fact that AIPAC can just buy out any politician and get them to support, bombing innocent civilians in Gaza with our taxpayer dollars.
Yeah,
everyone just fucking loves that.
It's great for their bottom line, guys. And what is the economy other than the giant businesses?
We don't have to talk about
yeah, exactly. Like only worry about big businesses. Don't even worry about trying to like support small businesses.
Very horrible.
Whatever.
And everybody's laughing at it. Okay,
they're
all laughing at it.
I think I ran that
she
bit
gave
dry.
up at least 12 and probably 14 or 15 different
Why have so
policies.
many?
Like, she was big on
corruption.
Yeah, exactly. No, because they were like, I mean,
don't mind, please.
It's pretty fucking obvious why she changed.
Does that sound familiar?
Yeah.
She went out in Minnesota and wanted to let
Come on, Kamala, just pop. I hate how she was like, what is lies?
She went out and
lies. She was like so afraid to. No, take over that shit. Kamala be like, you're a fucking liar.
Or illegal aliens that are in prison. This is a radical left liberal that would do this. She wants to confiscate your guns, and she will never allow fracking in Pennsylvania. If she won the election,
she literally walked back.
She literally walked it back. That's literally what the question's about. That's what the question's about.
Oh my God.
So I got the oil business going like nobody has ever done before. They took
because the average American loves oil.
Rid of it, started getting rid of it.
The average American
prices
loves oil.
were going up.
Hey, you know what?
They immediately
for those who
let
do
these
love
guys
oil, I guess
go
Kamala loves
to
oil
where
as
they
well.
were.
Again,
Yep,
that's why she's endorsed by Dick fucking Cheney.
They're literally on the same page.
Because you're talking about
But look, there's so much disagreement in her face.
Yeah. So much disagreement.
Look, it's gonna switch, and she's gonna be like, "Well, actually, I love oil."
You saw what happened to gasoline.
She's like, "Well, I'm big oil."
And thus we are seeing the rightward shift of the Overton window.
It just keeps going. They're like,
solar.
We actually both love fracking. Don't believe him. We love fracking.
We love fracking. We love destroying the planet. Okay, we absolutely hate trying to find any more kind of renewable sources of energy.
We have an election in just 56 days.
Global warming.
And I want to talk about the peaceful.
It's pretty cold on Saturday.
Which, of course, we all know.
But it's actually been disgustingly hot recently.
And the president, in a moment of crisis.
Climate's a long-term thing, and global warming is supposed to be a slow change, but it's making very observable changes to people's day-to-day.
Yeah, it's like literally every time they check, like
you did send out tweets, but
it's like every time
before you sent out
I see a new report on like climate change or whatever, it's like, hey, remember how we said like, we didn't think we were gonna hit like this worst. Like this worst moment that like we were screaming about like years ago. Yeah, we've already hit that, and it's like getting exponentially worse.
Peacefully and patriotically.
January 6th now.
And nobody on the other side
we're on
was
January
killed.
6th now?
Ashley Babbitt was shot by an out-of-control police officer that should have never, ever shot her. It's a disgrace.
You're putting the blame on the fucking police.
This group of people that have been.
What happened to this whole law and order thing? Oh my God! You can't even wear like the law and order facade.
No, because they can't. Because nobody
remember that.
Loves
she
that.
Was the border.
Nobody loves that. Nobody loves that. People really like it.
Nobody
loves it. Like it's only when it's not us. It's in-group, out-group, basically. I mean, like,
what about those people?
They're not arresting people like me, When I go batshit and break into the Capitol, they're not going to arrest me. Like, they're not going to shoot me. But, the brown person in the street,
We love law and order whenever law and order benefits our political position.
Exactly.
And whenever it doesn't, we hate law and order.
We hate law and order.
Minneapolis going to be prosecuted. Or in Seattle. They went into Seattle. They took over a big percentage of the city of Seattle. When are those people going to be prosecuted?
But let me just ask you.
You might ask her that question.
You were the president. You were watching it unfold on television. It's a very simple question as we move forward toward another election. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day?
Twice.
Yes, sir.
I had nothing to do with that other than they asked me to make a speech.
I love how every time the moderators ask yes or no question, they don't get a yes or no answer.
No. To be honest, I really just haven't heard them answer a question in a minute.
This is going to be a very
maybe that's because we were talking, but they really like not answering these questions.
Yeah,
especially the yes or no's. The yes or no's, they're like, well, they do this, they do that.
It was just, 2 weeks ago, her daughter has a tape of her saying
where did I write? I wrote this for my summer class. I took the Washington Center. It was like this program I had to go through with my internship.
Washington did their job. I wasn't responsible for security.
I honestly think the whole format of these debates are just set up terribly. And I'm saying this as someone who's done, like I competed on our debate team here. I'm not really doing the debate portion anymore this semester. I'm just doing like our individual events. But the way in which we do debates is a hell of a lot more structured. Basically what happens is you choose one resolution or like one policy to debate for like a half hour.
Our nation's capital.
That would be so much, like that's just so much more informative than this whole thing where you like try to like touch on a variety of different policy positions within the span of like an hour and a half. Like that's just not going to be terribly informative for the American people. I would personally rather see it.
But this is not an
I would personally rather see it.
Let's remember, Charlottesville.
See them do like 5, 6, hell, maybe even like 10 at the like the absolute most. I would rather them see them do like 10 half-hour debates throughout the course of maybe, I don't know, like 4 or 5 months.
Yeah,
because then like there would actually be like a focused debate over a specific issue that like, people feel more informed about, rather than this whole like, hey, let's like touch on immigration, and then it's like 2 minutes later, all of a sudden one of the candidates is talking about fucking, I don't know, climate change or
and the thing is they're not even really addressing those things. They're just trying to swerve the bullet pointed at them and then point their gun at the other guy. And I think it's kind of just not the back and forth that benefits the American people and the people who are voting and the people who actually care. It's kind of just like face value for the people to cheer when their person like hits them, and like cheer when the other person hits the other person. And I'm like, I don't know how much that's helping people make up their mind.
Yeah, no, and that's actually a really good point. There's a book called Hate Inc. It's by a guy named Matt Taibbi. I don't know if you've heard of him. So I will say this. He's kind of lost a little bit of credibility with his. He was one of the guys who like. He was one of the guys who like first reported. Basically, like he was given access to like all of Twitter's files with. Whenever Elon Musk took over Twitter, so he could like investigate like how deeply did the FBI like actually involve itself like in Twitter's like recommendations for certain articles. I don't remember all the specifics, but I just know that like he kind of lost some credibility over that. I think I forget why and how exactly. But anyways, I'm saying that because Matt Taibbi's like not the best, but he did make a very great point in Hate Inc.
Talk about the Capitol.
About how
these
really turned like the news media outlets have really turned political or just politics in general into like this sports kind of mentality, like sports coverage. Like instead of it being nuanced discussion about like a variety of different policy positions, instead it's like this my team versus your team, and we're totally just gonna ignore all the other teams that are even out there. At least you can say with like ESPN, at least like they'll address the other teams that are playing. But here it's just like, no, we're only going to choose these 2 teams, and you got to fucking pick one of them.
Exactly.
And it's so toxic.
It's toxic. It's miserable. And it really just doesn't allow me to make an informed decision on somebody who actually represents my ideals and my thoughts.
We talked immigration here tonight. I do want to,
and that's disappointing. That's just disappointing, and that's not a way to
this into focus. Truth
reinvigorate the American people
for 3.5 years after you lost the 2020 election,
and like trust. They're like, it's hard to have a democracy running at full capacity.
In the past
people
couple
don't
of weeks
feel
leading up to this
represented
debate,
or don't see the options to be
represented.
Well, the thing is, like,
that you came up a little bit short. Are you now acknowledging that you lost in 2020?
No, I don't acknowledge that at all. I said that
really?
You know that.
I mean, I'm not surprised at this point. Like, why?
I mean, can he not walk it back at this point?
Yeah, it's like, no, actually, will say he had a Freudian slip on Lex Friedman's podcast. It was about maybe let's say it was about a week ago, maybe. He like very like, and again, it was like kind of like a Freudian slip that he kind of said in an offhand manner, and then he just kind of like went on. So you kind of had to be paying attention.
Like literally right now, that's exactly what they called him out on. Like he said it, and he was like, oh, I was joking. It was because he's like that's why they do is like, I'm sorry, did you just admit that you
interesting, okay, I just totally missed that. No, see that's how like subtle he is about it whenever he does admit it, because like he did that on Lex Friedman's podcast. So yeah, I
did watch all of these pieces of video.
I should admit,
I didn't detect the sarcasm, lost by whisker.
Obviously we're just kind of like,
we should just point out here as clarification,
paying half attention to it, because
60 cases
at the end
of many judges, many of them
at the end of the day, like these debates, like I don't know, like how much.
That's the other thing. They said we didn't.
I don't know, like how much convincing they actually do for like undecided voters. Like it really just kind of highlights like the differences between the candidates, and like that's it.
Doesn't have standing. That's how we lost. If you look at the facts, and I'd love to have you'll do a special on it. I'll show you Georgia, and I'll show you Wisconsin, and I'll show you Pennsylvania, and I'll show you.
There's this thing called the legal system, and literally all the cases got thrown out of court by Trump-appointed judges.
The problem that we have right now is we have a nation in decline, and they have put it into decline. We have a nation that is dying, David.
Mr. President, thank you. Vice President Harris, you heard the president there tonight. He said he didn't say that he lost by a whisker. So he still believes he did not lose the election that was won by President Biden and yourself.
Damn.
But I do want to ask you about something.
That was won by President Biden,
This was a post from President Trump about this upcoming election just weeks away. He said, when I win, those people who cheated, and then he lists donors, voters, election officials, he says will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, which will include long-term prison sentences.
It's outrageous.
One of your campaign's top lawyers responded saying, we won't let Donald Trump intimidate us. We won't let him suppress the vote. Is that what you believe he's trying to do here?
Donald Trump was fired by 81 million people. So let's be clear about that. And clearly he is having a very difficult time processing that. But we cannot afford to have a president of the United States who attempts, as he did in the past, to upend the will of the voters in a free and fair election. And I'm going to tell you that I have traveled the world as Vice President of the United States, and world leaders are laughing at Donald Trump. I have talked with military leaders, some of whom
Trump
worked
losing
with
the
you,
election was
and they
probably
say
the
you're a
one thing that
disgrace.
all legal scholars agree
And when
on.
you then
Probably,
talk
yeah.
that's
actually-
Probably
actually
something
true.
that legal scholars agree on.
I'm gonna text it to
over
my
and over
sister.
again are court cases you have lost because you did in fact lose that election. It leads one to believe that perhaps we do not have in the candidate to my right the temperament or the ability to not be confused about fact. That's deeply troubling, and the American people deserve better.
I'll give you 1 minute to respond, Mr. President.
Let me just say about world leaders. Viktor Orban, one of the most respected men, they call him a strong man. He's a tough person, smart. Prime Minister of Hungary. They said, why is the whole world blowing up? 3 years ago it wasn't. Why is it blowing up? He said, because you need Trump
Yeah, because they're still
back
dropping
as
the
president.
bombs. Both of you guys
They were
do.
afraid of him.
Yeah.
China was afraid, and I don't like to use the word afraid, but I'm just quoting him. China was afraid of him.
Just quoting
North
him.
Korea was afraid of him. Look at what's going on with North Korea, by the way. He said
him.
Russia was afraid of him.
Here,
I ended the Nord Stream 2 pipeline.
Maybe
and
you,
Biden put it back on
so
day
I actually
one,
got the
but he
big
ended
dog
the
name
XL
from my friend Jay
pipeline. The
Duda.
XL pipeline in our country.
I guess
he ended that.
so.
But
I
he
don't
let
really
the
like
Russians build a
spoiling
pipeline
like who
going
I'm going to
over
be bringing
Europe and
on
heading into
for
Germany,
like
the
my
biggest
next
pipeline
interviews for like my
in the
honors
world.
thesis.
Look,
But Jay
Viktor
actually is going to be
Orban
one of them
said
because
it.
we've
He
been
said
kind
the
of going
most
back and
respected,
forth
most feared person
on
is
different
Donald
topics.
Trump. We
I'm
had
going to
no
see if maybe
problems
he
when
would
Trump
want to
was president.
call in.
But when this weak,
that'd be fantastic.
pathetic man that you saw at a debate just a
I'm
few
gonna
months
record a
ago,
message. I
that
don't
if he
have to
weren't
type
in
it.
that debate, he'd be running instead of Hirsch. You got no votes.
Hey,
He
Jay,
got 14 million votes.
so
What you did,
I am
you talk
here at the
about a
kennel,
threat to
with my
democracy.
friend Ty.
He got
from
14
the
million
radio
votes, and they
station.
threw him out
We're
of
actually like
office.
recording like a
And you know what?
live
I'll give you a little
reaction
secret.
to the
He
debate.
hates her. He
We're having a
can't
hell of a
stand her.
fun time.
But he got 14 million
I've already
votes.
got one friend
They
who's
threw him
gonna
out. She
call
got
in
0
over
votes.
Discord
And when
during
she
the
ran,
commercial break.
she was the first one
I
to
don't
leave
know
because
if
she
maybe
failed.
you would want
And now
to
she's
do
running.
that. I don't know why I didn't think to
understand
ask
it, but I'm
you
okay
this,
with it because
earlier.
Your time
But
is
I think we're
anyway.
going to do
maybe
very
you
well.
would like
Got a
want
lot
to
more
try to
to
call in during the
Turning now to
commercial
the
break
Israel-Hamas war,
maybe
and
want to call in
hostages
like
were
after
still
the
being
debate
held.
is over.
Americans
I think it'd be
among
kind of
them.
interesting to have
Vice
you,
President Harris in
have
December,
you
you said,
stop
quote,
in
Israel has a
over
right to
over a
defend
call.
itself, but you added,
Anyways,
quote,
if you
it
want to do that,
matters
that'd be
how.
awesome. If you
Saying
can't, no
international
worries,
humanitarian
just let
law
me know.
must be respected.
Real
Israel
soon,
must do more to
'cause
protect
we're,
innocent
what?
civilians.
Yeah, we're almost an hour.
You said that 9 months ago. Now an estimated
we're getting
40,000
to Israel. I gotta
Palestinians
shut
are
up.
dead.
Yep.
Nearly 100 hostages remain. Just last week, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said there's not a deal in the making. President Biden has not been able to break through the stalemate. How would you do it?
Well, let's understand how we got here. On October 7, Hamas, a terrorist organization, slaughtered 1,200 Israelis.
How many
of them
Palestinians
young
have
people
Israelis
who were
slaughtered?
Simply attending a concert.
Yeah.
Women were horribly raped. And so absolutely,
By
I
the
said
way,
then, I say now, Israel has a right to defend itself. We would. And how it does so matters.
A lot of thoughts on
Because
the.
it is
There's a lot of
also true,
discourse about the
far too
claims of
many
like systemic rape on
innocent
October
Palestinians
7th.
have been
I
killed.
should talk
Children,
about that at some
mothers.
point.
Yes.
What we know
Love to hear
is that this war must end.
Rape did happen on October 7th. Not being raped and I just want to throw that out there.
We need a ceasefire deal, and we need the hostages out. And so we will continue to work around the clock on that. Work around the clock, also understanding that we must
no arms embargo. You're not convincing undecided voters.
There must be security for the Israeli people and Israel, and an equal measure for the Palestinians. But the one thing I will assure you always, I will always give Israel the ability to defend itself. In particular,
it's not defense! It is not defense! I had to turn the slider up.
No, that makes sense. No.
We must have a two-state
that was
solution
necessary.
where we can rebuild Gaza, where the Palestinians
She's talking about a
have
two-state
security,
solution.
Self-determination, and the dignity they
Are they going to give
deserve.
Palestine nukes too?
Trump, how would you?
They're talking about, they're going to be an equal standing or whatever. I mean, like, you're going to give them some nukes and you're going to give, you know what? Yeah, let's throw weapons at both sides.
If I were president,
and on top of it too, it's like
would have never. Ever.
Honestly, at this point,
he would have
I don't
never,
know.
and there was no threat of it either.
I'm open to a two-state solution.
Gone into Ukraine,
ideally, and this is what really, like, from the river to the sea has meant, has been a one-state solution. Now, the idea of a one-state solution, I'm going to turn down Trump a little bit because I know he's just going to be saying, whatever he's saying is going to be just, like, even more psychotic than whatever Harris is saying. People have, like, tried to characterize one-state solution as, like, oh, that just means that, like, you want, Palestinians to, like, come into Israel and, like, kill all the Jews and all the Israelis. No, that's not what a one-state solution means. Because literally, so before Israel even existed, like, whenever the Ottoman Empire was, like, still, still present, like, in the land, in that region, Jews and Muslims actually coexisted peacefully. And my source of citing on that is it John or Hank Green? I can't remember. One of those, because I know, like, I think they're, like, related somehow.
They're brothers.
Yeah, they're brothers. One of them wrote The Fault in Our Stars. And the other one,
which one are you talking about?
The guy does the Crash Course videos.
They both do Crash Course videos.
They both do Crash Course? God damn it.
One does science, one does social studies.
Oh, the guy does the social studies.
Then I think that would be John Green.
John Green, okay. Yeah.
Hank is the one who recently had cancer.
Oh,
currently has cancer?
Oh, really? That's. Oh,
I think he's in remission. I think he's in remission now.
Okay. That's. I did not hear about that. That's wild.
That was a thing.
But anyways, no, yeah. So a Crash Course video on, like, the relationship between Israel and Palestine. Like, it made it very clear, like, Jews and Muslims actually used to coexist, like, peacefully. This isn't even like a religious divide. It's purely like a territorial dispute.
Yes.
And what a one-state solution really is all about is, like, trying to bring that back to to Palestine, right? Like, it's all about trying to bring back this idea that Jews and Muslims and really anyone in that region can live peacefully together. And that should be the ideal solution.
Yeah.
It's so weird to see Kamala, or not just, like, Harris, but, like, really, I don't know, corporate Democrats, AIPAC-owned Democrats, talk about the two-state solution as if that should be the ideal. And I don't think that is, because honestly...
Because there was a time where a one-state solution was acceptable.
Yeah.
That was a thing.
Yeah. And now, with, like, a two-state solution, I mean, that's always going to, like, that's always going to be like a, what's the word? That's always going to be like, kindling for, like, division to, for, like, wars to constantly break out between these two. It really needs to be some kind of, like, there needs to be some kind of way to actually, like, reunite these two peoples together. And part of that means not giving one of the sides fucking nukes and, like, all these missiles to just
to just absolutely destroy other people. Like, how can you have a two-state solution if they're fighting to get rid of a potential second state? That's not reasonable. That's not.
But hey, you know what?
That caused it.
It's just wild. It's wild to me to see Harris totally drop, because there was a lot of excitement, a lot of momentum whenever Harris, like, first became the nominee, or the presumptive nominee. And a lot of people were thinking, hey, she's, Because the thing with Biden is like he is bought out by AIPAC, but it is like a thing that he has held consistently throughout his entire career. It's not even. He says it's like in defense of Jews. No, it's not even that.
Yeah.
Because like there was one point in the 80s, he was delivering a speech on the Senate floor, and he literally said, if Israel, if there was no such thing as Israel, the United States would have to invent an Israel. And what he was getting at there was that it's not really about like trying to, protect Jews, because honestly, we can already do that here in the United States. Like we have this thing called the First Amendment, freedom of fucking religion.
Yeah.
And hey, I guess we're going to a commercial break. I guess. Oh
the
shit.
ABC News presidential debate will continue after this.
Hop on the disc. Oh yeah, Ashton's. Okay, great. Hey Ashton, can you hear us?
Oh yeah, I'm excited to be on.
Yeah. All right. Well, nice, man. And if you're comfortable, like turning on your video, feel free to do that too. Oh, wonderful.
I went outside.
Okay. You're outside. All right.
I'm with a group of college-educated progressives, and we're watching it together. And I didn't want to, have too much noise going on.
Yeah. No, I get you. Yeah. So, what are your reactions to the debate?
Well, I was wanting to call and I was seeing what I was going to say, and they just popped the question. I mean, I watched her interview with CNN, and she didn't really have any actual policy plans for much of anything. A lot of spin. That's how I felt, at least. And she actually just gave a policy, just plan, at least, for a two-state solution. So that was surprising.
Yeah, I mean, that was surprising. So the thing is, like with the two-state solution, as soon as she said that, I kind of like went off on a rant about how, great, two-state solution, not like a bad thing, but for one, we've been talking about that for like years and years at this point. And on top of that too, I mean, I really think like what the ideal thing should be is a one-state solution, right? And it's not, I'm going to repeat this again because I was already talking about this, but like a one-state solution does not mean whatsoever, some kind of call for like Palestinians to like eradicate Israelis. That's not what it is at all. It's rather a call to the time before Israel even existed, where Jews and Muslims like existed peacefully together in the Ottoman Empire. So that's like if Harris wants to do that, that's great. Really what I was looking for was a promise to, at the very least, a promise to threaten to withhold arms shipments to Israel. I mean, that's what we should be concerned about at this point. But I don't know what, yeah. And I'll admit too, by the way, Ty and I, we've been kind of going back and forth like on a lot of different things and kind of like haphazardly like turning to the debate. Cause like, I don't know, most of it is just kind of like what I expected personally. I don't know how you feel about it, like as a whole right now.
I'd say we're paying pretty close attention because, I asked before we watched, do you all think that this will have any impact on the election? I'm wondering, is this going to affect turnout in spring and swing states? So I was wondering, are they going to play to their bases, or is Kamala going to play to progressives? Is Trump going to play to moderates? So I don't know what I expected, if that's your question. I was surprised to see that, in addition to the two-state solution comment, Harris also basically came out and endorsed fracking as a concept.
Yes, we heard that.
Trump's also getting pretty harshly hit, and he's also, like the stuff about J6 and doubling down on election fraud, he's also not really exiting his base.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, I personally was surprised by those things because Kamala, like, she had already walked back the fracking thing. If not whenever she started running for president, like certainly whenever she joined the Biden administration, I thought. But yeah, I mean, she's definitely walked back the whole fracking ban like sometimes. So I wasn't terribly surprised by that. I'm trying to think of, honestly, the thing that really surprised me the most, and admittedly it's more of just like a rhetoric kind of thing, or maybe just like an in the moment kind of thing. Abortion, like obviously I want to see Roe v. Wade restored, abortion, or even like, codified. Like, I want to see Roe v. Wade codified in.
They kind of took them, the moderator and Harris. That was probably that's probably her best moment of the debate so far.
Yeah, I thought that was phenomenal. Like, I thought, like I was telling Ty, like, she literally made it look like she was a mother, like scolding her son. And I think that was a very effective moment. I mean, Trump just looked like a fucking loser there. Right? And I think that's going to be very effective, I think, for undecided voters for sure. I'm just realizing now I do need to keep an eye.
The debate's back on.
Yeah. Oh, is it coming back on?
Yeah, well, that was all I had. I was curious to see if they played outside their bases. Let's see what happens in the next half hour. Nice talking to you all.
Yeah, nice talking to you too, man. This is awesome. See you, friend.
See.
All right, cool.
That was nice. I like that.
That was nice. Oh, I gotta unmute this now.
Presidential debate tonight. We're going to continue here, and I want to turn to the war in Ukraine. We're now 2.5 years into this conflict. Mr. President, it has been the position of the Biden administration that we must defend Ukraine from Russia, from Vladimir Putin, to defend their sovereignty, their democracy, that it's in America's best interest to do so,
earlier, so let's see how
he wins.
It goes here.
Even further.
I mean,
in
I will say, like, Ukraine.
You have said you would solve this war in 24 hours.
Yeah,
you
with
said
Ukraine,
so just
like,
before the break tonight. How
I'm kind
exactly
of like apathetic on it. Like,
and
I definitely get that, like, Putin
do you want Ukraine
violated international law.
I want
at the same
war
time.
to stop. I want to save lives that are being uselessly, people being killed by the millions. It's the millions. It's so much
That's the
worse
other side to me,
than
basically,
the numbers
is
that
like,
you're getting, which are fake numbers.
It's also war,
Look,
and at the same time, like,
we're in for 250 billion.
I don't want to
more,
see this thing. I want to see this thing end as fastly as possible.
Which is a much bigger beneficiary to getting this thing done.
Yeah, I don't know. That's one where I'm a little more open to like different perspectives on that issue.
And you don't have the courage
because
to ask
it's
Europe.
weird. There's actually
like
a very
I did
interesting
with
perspective
NATO.
that I heard
They
from
billions and
because we were talking about it within the group I was interning with,
you
Physicians
pay
for
up
Social
or we're not gonna
Responsibility.
protect you anymore.
And
So
one of my
this may be
supervisors,
one of the reasons
he had said,
like me as much as they like weak people.
we
But
don't want to
you take a
call
look at what's happening.
for
We're in for 250
an
to
unconditional
275
ceasefire
billion.
in
They're
Ukraine,
into 100
because
to
then that would
150.
validate
They should be
Vladimir
forced
Putin's threats to
equalize.
use
With that being said,
nuclear
I want to get
weapons.
the war settled.
And we
I
don't-
know
and you don't
Zelensky
wanna
very
validate
well.
Yeah,
and
you
I know
don't- you
Putin
wanna
very well.
validate
I have
that.
a good relationship.
At the same
and they
time, it's like,
respect
well, I mean,
your president.
yeah. So,
Okay,
anyways,
they
that's one where I'm
respect
like
you. They don't
very
respect
conflicted on.
Biden.
I'm like
How would
genuinely
you respect
just,
him?
I'm
Why?
genuinely
For
just
what
like,
reason? He hasn't
it's
even
kinda
made a
complicated
phone
for me
call in
personally.
2 years to
Yeah,
vote.
and
Hasn't
I'd say I
spoken to
agree.
anybody.
I mean,
they don't
Ukraine,
even try and get it. That is a war that's
conflict
dying to
in-
be settled. I will get it settled before I even become president. If I
don't know how I've been feeling
when
about
I'm
that.
President-elect, and what I'll do
it's
is
one of those
I'll speak
things
to
where,
one,
you know,
I'll speak to the
I
other.
personally
I'll
don't
get them
want to see the
together.
United
that war
States
would have never happened.
supporting,
And in fact,
you know,
when I saw
foreign
Putin after I
conflicts
left,
with
unfortunately left because
military
our
force.
country
I
has
don't
gone
think
to
that
hell.
that's not something that
But after I left,
I
when I
hold
saw
to be
him
like a
building
value
up
for me. I don't
soldiers,
think
he
that's
did it
something
after I left.
I need to see my government doing.
He must be
Yeah.
negotiating.
Though
It must be
I-
a good, strong point of negotiation.
I would just
Well,
like
it wasn't,
for our government to be
because
consistent
Biden
on
had
whether they
no
want to
idea
help
how
people or
talk to
not.
him. He had
Yeah.
no
Because
idea
if
how to stop it.
we're going to
and
sit
now
out
you
here
have
and we're going to
millions of
spend
people dead,
resources in
and it's
protecting
only getting worse,
Ukraine
and it could lead to World War
and, you know,
III.
support
Don't kid
Israel,
yourself, David.
I think that's
We're
interesting. I
playing
think
with
that's
World War
not
III,
really
and we have
the
a
thing that we
president
should be
that we
doing. I
don't
think we
even
should
know
choose
if
a side.
Where is
Are
our
we on the side of
president?
protecting
We
the
don't
little
even
guy,
know
or are
if
we on
he's
the
a
side of
president.
And just to
preserving our
clarify,
interests?
They
Because
threw
that's
him
what
out
it
of
seems
a
like, is we're just
campaign
preserving our
like a dog.
interests.
We don't
You know,
even
we only
know.
care about
Is he our
Ukraine because we
president?
don't like
But we
Russia.
have a president.
Mr.
We
Yeah.
only care about
Doesn't know he's
Israel
alive.
because that's our
Your
sphere of
time is up.
influence in the Middle East.
Just to
Yeah.
clarify
That's our
the
little buddy.
question,
Yeah.
Do you believe
And I
it's in
just-
the U.S.
I
best
don't know
interest
that.
for Ukraine
Yeah.
to win this war? Yes
And-
or no?
I think it's the U.S. best interest to get this war finished and just get it done.
Yeah, see, you see what I'm talking about?
Negotiate a deal,
U.S.'s
because
best
we have
interest.
to
I think that whole
stop
question
all
is
of these
backwards because
human
we're here about
lives
human lives.
from being destroyed.
I want to take this to
Yeah,
Vice
but he's
President
talking about
Harris.
the
I want to get
U.S.
your
best
thoughts
interests.
on
Yeah,
support for
yeah.
Ukraine in this moment, but also as Commander-in-Chief, if elected, how would you deal with Vladimir Putin, and would it be any different from what we're seeing from President Biden?
Well, first of all, it's important to remind the former president you're not running against Joe Biden, you're running against me. I believe the reason that Donald Trump says that this war would be over within 24 hours is because he would just give it up. And that's not who we are as Americans. Let's understand what happened here.
Yeah, we as
I
Americans,
actually
we do
met
not
with
give up
Zelensky
wars.
A few days before Russia invaded.
We have too many
tried
defense
through
contractors
force to change territorial
to please,
boundaries.
so
Yeah,
we
you gotta
define
stay happy.
One
I
of the
mean,
most
yeah.
important international rules and norms.
That's
which
where the
is
money's
importance
at.
Of sovereignty and
Now,
territorial
again,
integrity.
in all
And
seriousness,
I met with President Zelensky.
Yeah,
I shared
Trump
with him
obviously-
American intelligence about how he could
I think
defend
he's just
himself.
kind of like
Days
he's making.
later, I went to NATO's eastern flank.
He's
to
basically
Poland
making an
and
appeal
Romania.
to like
And
I don't
through
know,
the work
passion,
that I
guess,
and others
right?
did,
Like
we
that's
brought
really all
50
he's doing with
countries
that. I don't
together
think he
to
has
support
a
Ukraine
damn
in its
clue
righteous defense
as to like how
and
he would
because of our support,
as to how he would
because
like
of the air defense,
fix
fix
what's going on in Ukraine right now.
The javelins,
no, of course
the
not.
Abrams tanks.
Because to be honest, I don't think I've heard anything
Ukraine
proposed from
stands
tonight.
as an independent
But you
and
haven't
free
heard what?
country.
Didn't
If
propose
Donald Trump were
anything of
president,
actual like
Putin would be sitting in
policy
Kyiv
or
right now.
concepts or
And
plans to do
understand what that would
anything
mean.
other
Yeah.
than just kind of
Putin's
making
agenda
attacks
is not
and
just about Ukraine.
claims.
Yeah,
Understand
well, because the thing
why
is,
the European allies and our NATO
he's made a lot of
allies
claims about
are so
policy
thankful
elsewhere,
that you are
but he
no
knows that
longer
they're so
president,
unpopular
and that we
that like whenever he gets into a
understand the
debate like
importance of the
this,
greatest military
whenever he's
alliance
asked
the
like,
world
"Hey,
has ever
like,
known,
do
which
you
is
support
NATO.
this? Do you not?"
And
And he
what
just
we
kind
have
of
done
waffles on
to
it. He's
preserve
just like.
the ability of Zelensky and the Ukrainians to fight for
Like the
their
whole thing, whenever he
independence.
was like asked, "Would you
Otherwise,
sign a national
Putin would be
abortion ban?"
sitting
He's
in
like,
Kyiv
"Well, national
with his
abortion
eyes
ban
on
is
the
never going to
That
come
would
to my
never
door."
happen. It's never coming to
Starting
my
with
office.
Poland,
That's
and why don't you tell the 800,000 Polish Americans right here in Pennsylvania how quickly you would give up for the sake of
Let's see if Jay will
favor
come on. Let's see if Jay
and
wants
what
to
you
come
think
on.
is a friendship with what is known to be a dictator who would eat you
He says he'd love to call it, "You're going to be Big Dog Jay."
President Harris,
Dog
thank you.
Jay.
Both
That's
of you
so that's how
on
we got the
Ukraine
nickname.
tonight.
Like he calls me
Yeah.
Big
Came
Dog
up in the
Ethan, I
last
called
hour.
him Big
Big
Dog
Dog
Jay.
Jay.
I wanted to
We
respond
like
to something
that.
you said
Yeah, we
earlier,
ran a
and
podcast called
Please,
Tea Time with the
I'll give you
Big
a minute
Dogs,
here.
where we sip on tea.
Nice.
Putin would be sitting
Granted,
in Moscow.
Oh man,
and he wouldn't have
I don't
lost
know. Like
300,000
I had a lot of fun
men
recording those
and women, but
episodes
he
with
would have
Jay.
been sitting in
Man,
Moscow
I'm almost afraid to look
quietly.
back at
He
those
would have been sitting
because
Oh, I
I
get
want
it.
because like
Moscow.
you know we're freshmen
Much
and
happier
especially
than he
like
is right
we
now.
kind of it
But
was right.
eventually, you know, he's got
Put out a
thing that
few episodes
other
once
people
COVID
don't have.
hit.
He's got nuclear
But
weapons. You don't have
then,
to talk about that.
yeah,
Nuclear
after that we just kind of
weapons.
figured
Nobody
that
ever
we
thinks
both
about
just
that.
didn't have the time
And
to coordinate,
eventually,
like trying to do all
maybe
that.
he'll use them,
So,
and maybe
but,
it hasn't been that.
you know, most of those
threatening,
were made like
but
whenever we were
he does
freshmen in
have that.
college.
It's
So
something we
like,
don't even like to
fun.
talk about. Nobody likes to talk.
Those are
about
memories,
it.
man.
But
Those
just
are
so you
memories.
understand,
they're memories,
they sent
yeah.
her to
And like again, I had a lot of fun
negotiate
recording them,
peace
but I'm
before
also
this
just
war
very
started.
afraid to look back
3
at them now.
days
Like
later,
I can already
he
think
went
of one
in and
episode
he
we like
started the
talked
war
about like
because everything they said was weak
dating
and stupid.
disasters?
They said the wrong thing.
Oh, that's
that war
lovely.
should have never
Oh,
started.
that's lovely.
She was the emissary.
Yeah, yeah, you
They
gotta-
sent her
nah,
in
you
to
should
negotiate
watch that.
with Zelensky
You gotta watch
and
that
Putin.
for a
And
natural
she
state
did.
of affairs.
And the war
the
started
April
3
Fool's
days later.
special.
And
April
that's the
Fool- well,
kind of talent we
I'm
have
graduating
with her.
this,
She's worse than Biden.
this
in my
December,
opinion, I think he's
so-
the
Oh,
worst president in the history of our
congratulations.
country.
Maybe I'll do it as like a
She
fun
goes
final,
down
or
as
maybe
the
I don't
worst
know.
the
maybe-
final,
president
the
in
final
history of our
episode,
country.
you
But let me tell you
reminisce.
something.
It'll be
She
like
is
it'll be
a
December.
horrible
Trump's like
negotiator. They
leading
sent
a
her in to
riot at the
negotiate. As
like
soon as
outside of
they
the White
left,
House, and I'm
Putin
just like,
did the
hey
invasion.
y'all, let's
President
listen
Trump,
to like
thank you. You bring up something
let's have Big
you said
Dog Jay
you
on
were
here, and we're just gonna
negotiating
re-listen to an old
Vice
episode.
President Harris, have you ever met Vladimir Putin? Can you clarify
Honestly, we might
tonight?
need to do that just for
Yet
both
again,
of
I
our
said it at the beginning
for
of
the sake of
debate.
both
You're going to hear a bunch of lies coming from this fella.
for the sake of like
And
both
that is
our
another
mental
one.
sanity.
When I went to meet with President Zelensky, I've now met with him over 5 times. The reality is it has been about standing as America always should, as a leader upholding international rules and norms.
See,
As
that's
a
not
leader
true.
who
That's not
shows
true, though, because
strength,
we're supporting Israel, and
understanding that the
you know she's on the
alliances we
record
have
saying that
around
you know
the
she
world
thinks that
are
they're not.
dependent
Like
on
that's
our
not
ability
okay.
to look
That's
out
not
for
okay.
our
They should abide by
friends
international
and
law.
not
Yet they're still
favor
supporting
our
and we're
enemies
still pouring
because
money and
you
weapons
adore
into
strongmen
this.
instead
Yeah,
of
and the thing
caring
is,
about
like,
democracy.
Because basically
And
what they
that
do is
very
they,
much what is at
whenever they're
stake
sending
here.
like reports
The
of Israel
President of the
committing any
United
human rights
States is
abuses, they just
commander-in-chief.
kind of like what they do with the
And the
CIA. They
American
just say,
people have
oh,
a
you know,
right
we're
to
just going to let them
rely
investigate themselves
on
and
a
see what
president
happens, you know?
Understand
The only time that we
the
really
significance of
the only
America's
time we
role
ever
and
investigated
responsibility
Israel, it was
in
like a
terms of
State
ensuring
Department
that there
report,
is
and they literally
stability and
said, like,
ensuring we stand
yeah,
up for our principles and
you know,
not
they're
sell them
probably
for
using the
for
weapons that we're shipping them
benefit
to
of
commit,
personal flattery.
you know,
We
violations
talked
of
about
international
Ukraine
law,
and Vladimir
war
Putin. I do
crimes,
wanna
and
talk
all that
about
stuff.
Afghanistan. It came up in the
But
first hour of this debate.
It's
I wanted to
probably
move
not
on
a
to
big
Afghanistan.
deal. We can keep
Said
sending
Trump
them
did the
weapons. I mean,
most
there's an
amazing
article
thing
from the
I've ever
Intercept
seen.
titled
He got
State
these
Department says
countries, the
it is
28
likely that
countries at the
Israel
time,
is committing
to
war
pay
crimes
up.
with
He
our
said, I've
weapons.
never seen. He's
But
the
that's
head of NATO.
okay.
He said, I've never seen. For years,
Wow,
we were
that's a
paying
statement.
almost all of
Yeah,
NATO.
if you want-
we were being ripped
If you
off
want
by European
like just
nations,
great
both on
examples of
trade
like
and on
how to
NATO.
headline an
I got them
article,
to pay up
the
by
Intercept.
saying, one of
They
the
just
statements
do
you
it.
made
Yeah,
before,
they do it so
if
well.
you don't pay, we're not going to protect you.
President
Otherwise,
Trump.
we would have never gotten it. He said it was one of the most incredible jobs that he's ever seen done.
Thank you. I want to turn to Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of the debate, and we witnessed a poignant moment today on Capitol Hill, honoring the soldiers who died in the chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan. I do want to ask the Vice President, do you believe you bear any responsibility in the way that withdrawal played out?
Well, I will tell you, I agreed with President Biden's decision to pull out of Afghanistan.
Hey!
4 presidents said they would,
Fucking
and
based.
Joe Biden did. And as a result, America's taxpayers are not paying the $300 million a day we were paying for that endless war. And as of today, there is not one member of the United States military who is in active duty in a combat zone in any war zone around the world, the first time this century. But let's understand how we got.
That's a little bit weaselly.
Donald Trump, when he was president,
I get what she
negotiated
with regards to Afghanistan.
One of the weakest deals you can imagine.
Was
he calls himself a deal maker.
Chaotic,
even his
and
national security
yes, it was not pretty. But that's kind of what happens whenever you withdraw from a war you've been carrying out for 20 years.
He negotiated directly with a terrorist
did anyone think that our withdrawal from Vietnam
was clean?
Yeah, seriously. No, obviously it wasn't ideal, but that's kind of the whole thing that you have to do whenever you
how war works.
The president at the time invited the Taliban to
upsetting.
And honestly, I'm a little bit annoyed because I place a lot of blame on mainstream media pundits like that. Look, as suave of a voice as that guy, I forget his name, but
they put it up earlier.
Yeah, I forget that guy's name, but he has perhaps the most suave voice ever. But my God, framing the question in that way it's just disingenuous, and it kind of goes back to what it kind of goes back to this whole idea that was put forth in Manufacturing Consent, that book I was telling you about earlier.
Shout out.
Yeah, shout out to Noam Chomsky. Hope he's doing I hope he's having a great recovery from his stroke.
The point of how he has consistently disparaged and demeaned members of our
you know Noam Chomsky?
I've heard, yes, I've heard of Noam Chomsky.
Yeah. I never heard of him until someone told me about Manufacturing Consent. I read that book and I was like, oh shit.
I think this podcast I listened to, Philosophize This, brought up Chomsky once.
Oh, really? Okay, cool. Yeah.
If you take a look at that period of time,
I heard him on a podcast. It's called Crystal Kyle and Friends. So it's hosted by the guy who hosts that Secular Talk podcast I mentioned. He hosts it now with his wife. It was kind of weird. They started the podcast seemingly just as friends. They literally called it Crystal Kyle and Friends. And then it's I don't know, once a year, maybe a year and a half later, they're like, hey, we're engaged.
Oh.
Surprise.
Don't do it anymore.
And it's like,
you do it anymore, you're going to have problems.
But
and he said, why do you send me a picture
that was
of my
their
house?
sixth episode. They had Noam Chomsky
figure
on.
that out, Abdul. And for
I will say,
months,
I'm actually surprised that
he was. We did have an agreement negotiated by Mike Pompeo.
I mean, I don't know what his teaching gig is going to be like now with him recovering from a stroke. But
we were getting out. We would have been out faster than them, but we wouldn't have lost the soldiers. We wouldn't have left many Americans behind, and we wouldn't have left $85 billion worth of brand new, beautiful military equipment behind. And just to finish, they blew it. The agreement said you have to do this, and they didn't do it. They didn't do it. The agreement was
sorry, I totally just lost my train of
terminated
thought
by
there.
us.
Oh yeah, with Noam. Yeah, I have no idea what his teaching gig is
going
to be like now. But right before he had that stroke, he was still teaching at I think it was University of Arizona.
Moment in the history of our country. And by the way, that's why Russia attacked Ukraine.
He was still kicking it right before then. According to the Associated Press article that was released about him. He's recovering in a hospital of some kind in Brazil, and it's so weird because they kind of kept it on the hush-hush, and whenever October 7th happened, Chomsky has been very outspoken, in support of Palestinians.
Why do you believe it's appropriate to weigh
throughout his
on the
entire
racial
life
identity of your opponent?
And I don't care.
Whenever people just kind of notice, hey, we haven't heard anything from Noam Chomsky
you make a big deal out of something.
What's up with
less.
that? And it's just maybe about a month later, they finally announced, he's having a stroke. We've been playing the news for him while he's been recovering, and whenever he sees something on the news that really I don't know, upsets him, he just raises his left hand.
Either one was okay with me. That's up to her.
Vice President Harris, your thoughts on this?
Anyways, to bring up Manufacturing Consent, because that guy, honestly, the way that guy framed that question is just so emblematic of how, someone who just how captured mainstream news outlets are by the military-industrial complex. I mean, because it was just as soon as we started pulling out of Afghanistan, it's just this hair on fire coverage, oh my gosh, the Taliban is taking back over Afghanistan. It's what the fuck did you think was going to happen? We were propping up this corrupt government that really didn't care about whether or not it was actually keeping the Taliban at bay. So they were going to take over.
How Donald Trump started. He was a
Anyways.
Talking about race. They called out the
buildings.
I didn't know she was black. You know, if she wanted to be Indian, no, she's black. They brought that up, yeah.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Property to black families. Let's remember, this is the same individual who took out a full-page ad in the New York Times calling for the execution of 5 young black and Latino boys who were innocent, the Central Park 5. Took out a full-page ad calling for their execution. This is the same individual who spread birther lies about the first black president of the United States. And I think the American people want better than that, want better than this, want someone who understands, as I do, I travel our country. We see in each other a friend. We see in each other a neighbor. We don't want a leader who is constantly trying to have Americans point their fingers at each other.
I don't even know my neighbors. Just saying, Kamala. Not everyone.
That has kind of died down.
Can we please just have discourse about
But I mean,
how we're
you know,
going to invest in the
I think community is
aspirations
important.
and the ambitions and the dreams
I wish
of
I knew my neighbors, but honestly, it's just
knowing that regardless
it's so much
of
easier
people's
to
color
communicate
or
to
the
thousands of
language
people
their grandmother
online.
speaks,
Exactly.
we all
Well,
have the
on top of it, it's
same
just
dreams
like,
and aspirations,
you know,
and want
My
a
community is
president
somehow
who
larger and
invests
smaller
in
at the same
those,
time.
not
Yeah,
in
yeah.
hate and
Well, it's like,
division.
I don't know.
Vice
Whenever
President
I'm here, I'm just working on
President Trump,
stuff,
this
and
is
like,
now
if
your
I'm,
third
you know,
time.
whenever I'm not working on stuff,
This
I'm
is
going
the
out to
most
MTSU or going out to, you know, my
presidency
serving job, and like
in the
that's
history of our
it.
country. There's never been anything like it. They're destroying our country, and they come up with things like what she just said. Going back many, many years, when a lot of people, including Mayor Bloomberg, agreed with me on the Central Park 5, they admitted, they said, they pled guilty. And I said, well, if they pled guilty, they badly hurt a person, killed a person ultimately. And if they pled guilty, then they pled, we're not guilty. But this is a person that has to stretch back years, 40, 50 years ago.
No.
Because
They
there's nothing
opened the
now.
question
I
with
built
a
one of the
quote
greatest
from you like a
economies in the
few
history
months
of the
ago,
world.
man.
And I'm
That's
gonna build it
like,
again. It's
come
gonna
on,
be
man.
bigger, better, and
That's
stronger.
a little sloppy.
But they're destroying
Yeah,
our economy.
yeah.
They have
That's-
no idea what a good
the question
economy
starts
is.
with a
Their
very
oil
recent
policies,
quote from
every
him.
single
Yeah.
policy.
Like,
And
that's-
remember this.
Because I was bringing up like the
She
whole
is
thing of like
Biden.
questioning
You know,
her
she's
like
trying to
about her
get away
race,
from
and it's
Biden.
like
I
that
don't know the
literally just
gentleman,
happened,
she says.
dog. You can't just be
She
like,
is
oh,
Biden.
they're taking stuff
The
like from a while ago.
worst
No,
inflation we've
no,
ever had.
no. Yeah, I mean that's
horrible
it's a good
economy
point.
because
Back to the
inflation has
economy
made it
because
so
we can't
bad
get off the first question that
that
they
you
never
can't get
answered.
away with that.
See, and this is what I'm talking about. This is why we need to change the format entirely. Just do like
Clearly,
anywhere between
I
5
am
to
not
10
Joe Biden.
half-hour
And I
debates,
am
like just on a
certainly
single
not
issue,
Donald
right?
Trump.
Yeah.
And what I do offer is a new generation of leadership for our country. One who believes in what is possible, one who brings a sense of optimism
She's a Gen Xer.
about what we can do instead
Maybe.
of always
Yeah, I guess
disparaging
she's
the
the
first Gen
American
X
people.
president.
I
Isn't she,
believe
like-
in what we can
I have
do
no idea.
to
50 or 60. I
strengthen
mean, we'll say
our
like
small businesses, which
in
is
terms
why
of,
I have
like-
a plan. Let's talk about our plans and
in terms of
and
like
let's compare
policy,
the plans. I have a
kind of a
plan
new
to give
generation.
startup businesses
I wouldn't say
$50,000
necessarily
tax
her, but
deduction
Tim Walz.
to
Yeah.
pursue
Yeah.
Like you look,
their
I mean, you've seen like the
ambitions, their
like literally
innovation,
everything
their
that Tim
ideas,
Walz did
their
with
hard
only a
work. I have
one-seat
a plan,
majority in
$6,000
the Minnesota
for young
Senate.
families for the
Like
first year of your
that
child's
is a new
life
generation,
to
I think,
help
of like
you
getting
in
automatic
that most
voter
critical
registration,
stage
getting
of your
legal
child's
weed.
development. I have a
What is it?
plan
There's
that
also
is about
free public
allowing people to
college
be able to pursue
for
what
family
has been
for
fleeting
like
in
families
terms of
making
the
I think it's like
American
under
dream
$80,000.
by offering help with down payment of
Also, like just like
$25,000 down payment assistance
tax relief
for
on like working
first-time
class
home
citizens.
buyers.
I mean, there's a
That's the
great.
kind of
I actually cited this
conversation, I
post in my
believe,
last
David,
upload that I made
people
for the
really
National
want
State of
tonight,
Affairs.
as opposed to a
No, it was the first show I
conversation that is
did.
constantly about
Again, the
belittling
secular talk guy.
and
Here's like
name-calling.
posted on Twitter. He's
Let's
like,
turn the
here is
page.
everything
Vice
he got
President
done with the
Harris.
one
Thank
with the
you.
one
Let's
seat
turn to
majority in the
policy.
Senate,
We have
and it's
to
just
move
like,
on.
Oh,
President
yeah.
Let's
yeah.
turn to policy,
She has
please.
a plan to defund the police. She has a
Okay.
plan to confiscate
I wish!
everybody's
Yeah.
guns.
I
She has a
wish!
plan
Yeah, that'd be
to
that'd be
not allow
pretty
fracking
cool.
in Pennsylvania
That's
or
not
anywhere
that's not the
else.
person
That's what her
across
plan
from
is
you,
for children.
unfortunately.
I just need
See,
to-
See, because sometimes Trump will like paint
President has said
No,
something
I'm sorry.
Harris
that I
in
need
this
to
way,
respond.
I'm
in
sorry,
this light.
we're gonna move
that
on,
makes her
Vice
sound
President Harris.
awesome
President Trump, this is
sometimes.
now
Oh,
your
yeah.
third time
Yeah.
Like
running
he'll be like
You have long
she's a
vowed to
radical.
repeal
She
and
supports
replace
health care
Affordable
for
Care
all and
also
taking
known
away
as
guns and making
Obamacare.
our
You failed to
military
accomplish
small.
that. You
And I'm like,
now
whoa! I'd vote for
Unless we can do something much better.
Typically,
Last month, he said, quote,
corporate-owned politicians tend to do that, where they'll make like these blatant accusations of like, oh, they like support defunding the police and like a Green New Deal, and it's like they don't even do that. Like, bro, I fucking wish. They did that with Bernie all the time. Well, I mean, Bernie actually did support those things.
We're going to do it, and we're going to replace it.
Trying to think of like a good. Oh, I mean, with Biden, like they try to make all those
huge radical. It's Biden.
Biden, the most radical thing he did was
like ice cream.
Okay, that. But also, no. I mean, the most radical thing he did was just maybe the Afghanistan withdrawal, and then also enforcing existing labor law.
Yeah,
that's literally it.
Obligation, even though politically it would have been
good. And if that's radical, then let it go away. That window just keeps moving.
And I told my people, the top people, and they're very good people. I have a lot of good people in that administration. We read about the bad ones. We had some real bad ones too, and so do they. They have really bad ones. The difference is they don't get rid of them.
Oh, that's right. I was going to check Kamala Harris's
I had a choice to make. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, or do I let it rot? And I saved it. I did the right thing. But it's still never going to be great, and it's too expensive for people. And what we will do is we're looking at different plans. If we can come up with a plan that's going to cost our people, our population, less money and be better health care than Obamacare, then I would absolutely do it. But until then, I'd run it as good as it can be run.
That'd be
pretty affordable for me.
Yeah, that'd be nice. No, that's the thing, too. Literally, Bernie Sanders' proposal for Medicare for All, there was a study that was done by The Lancet. It's like the journal that
I would only change it if we come up with something that's better.
They found that over 10 years, Medicare for All, at least Bernie Sanders' plan, would save us $5 trillion from like our current, like what we currently have right now. The whole argument, and this is one that like even actually like
2 years later, you
wrote this in a paper. Actually, I'm going to be doing a presentation about the paper at the Tennessee Communication Association.
Yeah,
but no, like Mark Green was like even it was back in 2019. He was like running the same dumb line. He's like, oh my gosh, Medicare for All is going to cost us $52 trillion. He didn't mention at all how much our current system costs us, and on top of it too, he also like blatantly misrepresented the results of the finding on this other study that he cited, looking at what was it? I think Medicaid, the cost of Medicaid for providing, like covering treatment for depression in Oregon or something like that.
He tried to get rid of the Affordable Care Act.
That whole argument. Granted, I will say,
at the time,
so Medicare for All, like, or just single payer health care, like as a concept. Its cost can vary. There's a great book called Medicare for All: A Citizen's Guide. It's actually written by like people who advised Bernie Sanders' campaign. And what they said in the book was, listen, I mean, depending on, what you decide to cover and like how you decide to set such a system up, it could end up costing more, but there are also ways where you can actually get it to cost less.
No, you don't.
And it's all like in the details. So like making this blanket statement about, just Medicare for All, like whatever kind of like single payer healthcare system we would propose would like just increase costs massively. No, it's just not fucking true.
Remember what that was like? Remember when an insurance company could deny if a child had asthma, if someone was a breast cancer survivor, if a grandparent had diabetes? And thankfully, as I've been vice president and we over the last 4 years have strengthened the Affordable Care Act, we have allowed for the first time Medicare to negotiate drug prices.
She was born in 1964. She's only 1 year older than my mom.
Donald Trump said he was going to allow Medicare to negotiate drug prices.
64
he never did. We did.
Boomer.
And now we have
I mean, it's like the boomer Gen X like line.
Since I've been vice president,
the same
we have
year
capped the cost of prescription medication for seniors at $2,000 a year. And when I am president, we will do that for all people, understanding that the value I
don't know. Like
new generation, maybe ideas, but I doubt it.
It's like I don't know. Depends on how you define generation, right? Like if you're talking about like a new generation of American politics in terms of like policy, sure. But in terms of like,
I don't know if I'd give her that. I don't know if I'd give her that.
I want to move to
I don't know in terms of policy. Not yet. I don't know that I've heard that.
I mean, maybe on economics, maybe. But I think with her picking walls,
but it wasn't
a new direction. Yeah, it's plausible.
It's plausible, but not like. And you know it's not definitive. It's not. It's not.
We could do much better than Obamacare. Much less money, but she won't improve private insurance for people, private medical insurance. That's another thing she doesn't want to get. People are paying privately for insurance that have worked hard and made money, and they want to have private. She wants everybody to be on government insurance where you wait 6 months for an operation that you need immediately.
President Trump, thank you.
Wait times,
we have another issue that we'd like to get to that's important for a number of Americans, in particular younger voters, and that's climate change.
Like it's not
President Trump, with regard to the environment, you say that we have to have clean air and clean water. Vice President Harris, you call climate change an existential threat.
I mean, wait times are just always going to exist. It just depends. Do you want to have,
and Vice President Harris, we'll start with you.
Do you want to have wait times because you have a an understaffed pharmacy that's all backed up because they're owned by this massive corporation who has no regulations whatsoever and aren't paying their workers enough? Do you want to have those wait times, or do you want to have wait times because everyone's getting covered? I personally, I would rather have everyone get covered, but that's just my radical fucking thinking.
We know that we can actually
going out on a
deal
fucking
with
limb
this
there.
issue. The young people of America care deeply about this issue, and I am proud that as Vice President over the last 4 years, we have invested $1 trillion in a clean energy economy while we have also increased domestic gas production.
I like fracking.
What do we do to fight climate change? Not do anything about the things that are causing it.
We have invested.
Let's spit ideas about new stuff, but let's keep that old stuff booming.
We have fossil fuel donors that we need to please. Okay,
that's the only reason I'm up here. We had to give something.
Who also know that
we had to compromise.
Dude, imagine she gets up there, that question hits, and she's like,
investing in American-made products, American automobiles. It includes growing what we can do around American manufacturing and opening up auto plants, not closing them like happened under Donald Trump.
I don't know. We're doing some things,
It didn't happen under Donald Trump. Let me just tell you, they lost 10,000 manufacturing jobs this last month. It's going. They're all leaving. They're building big auto plants in Mexico. In many cases owned by China. They're building these massive plants. They think they're going to sell their cars into the United States because of these people. What they have given to China is unbelievable. But we're not going to let that. We'll put tariffs on those cars so they can't come into our country because they will kill
I've heard renewable energy
workers and any auto worker,
creates
whether
jobs.
it's in
That's
Detroit
just me.
Or South Carolina
I just heard that.
Or any other place.
Maybe it's lies.
That is just fake news, man. That is just mainstream media gaslighting.
And I also heard that they're
because
better jobs almost.
No,
safer, more
false, wrong.
They get all this money from Ukraine.
I mean, granted, I actually don't know. To be honest, I actually don't know the quality of those jobs. What I do know is that at least among the Biden administration, there was at least I don't know if they got this passed or not. There was a push to basically require any new green energy companies in order to get the tax credits that they want to get. They had to have union jobs.
Both of our candidates, an historic night.
If I remember correctly, I think that was something that was proposed as part of the Build Back Better. Oh, we're going to commercial break. Here, I'm going to see if
the ABC News presidential debate will continue after this.
Let's see.
The House will be in order.
This year, C-SPAN celebrates 45 years of covering Congress like no other. Since 1979, we've been your primary source for Capitol Hill, providing balanced, unfiltered coverage of government.
Those are classic moments
where the policies debated.
They're playing the hits.
Yeah. Let's see if Ashton wants to pick up. I don't know. Because I only told him once, so maybe you want to come on again. I told Jay had told me after the debate we would do that. But maybe he's not. Yeah, I don't think he's picking up. But anyways, hey, one thing I did want to touch upon because here, I'm actually going to go back to our full screen view here. Oh, that's playing the intro right there. So,
they're showing third party on the reel.
Whoa, that's good. They're showing Cornel West on there right now. But one thing that I did want to mention, because I like hinted at this, Kamala Harris like brought up, there were like massive like numbers of reported sexual assaults committed by Hamas soldiers. The claim that has been like, it's been making its rounds is that Hamas used sexual assault as a like systemic weapon in their attack on Israel on October 7th. That is patently false. A lot of that evidence has basically come from like this one religious, basically like this one Zionist organization within Israel. Their whole thing was that like they were basically like, I don't know, kind of like volunteer first responders, if I'm not mistaken. And they were like providing like a lot of like testimony to the press and all that. Turns out a lot of their claims were just patently false. Some of them were true. Like, don't get me wrong. And there's actually a great example. There's this New York Times piece that dropped at the end of December on, it was called Screams Without Words. And, it basically kind of summarized all these claims. Now, its claim was, hey, Hamas systemically like used sexual assault as a weapon in their attacks on Israel on October 7th. However, you scroll further down and you see that it's like, they have like this map and it's like 12 reported instances, 3 confirmed, something along those lines. Like we're only talking in like the tens, but there were 1,200 people killed. So already it's kind of like pressing X to doubt, which I don't normally do whenever like claims of sexual assault are being made, but it's just like, this isn't just a claim of sexual assault. It's a claim of using sexual assault as a weapon of war. And to add on to that, so the article then like goes into like these 3, confirmed instances of sexual assault. One of them, as it turns out, was patently false, as in like, The Intercept, that outlet that I mentioned earlier, they basically like reached out to one of the families who had like talked to the reporters for this article, and the family, like literally the family said, "Listen, like our daughter was like brutally murdered by Hamas, and like we're horrified by that, but there was no rape that happened." And so then like and that was actually part of this larger article that The Intercept put out. It was called Between the Hammer and the Anvil. And they just go through like the entire, because they basically got like a bunch of New York Times reporters to like, to basically like, talk to them off the record, or not off the record. Sorry. They talked to them on the record anonymously. And yeah, there were so many instances of just like blatant, what's the word? Just journalistic malpractice. Okay. So one of the things was, so basically the way that they wrote the article was that they had this one editor, and he's like won Pulitzer Prizes, right? For his reporting. And so he became like this editor, or yeah, I think he's still like considered an editor, I guess. And for this article, he basically had these 2 reporters go out to Israel to like gather the evidence, gather all these claims, and they would send them back to him, and he would like put it. Oh yeah, starting up again. Anyways, to be continued.
To be continued. Yes.
Different visions for our country. One that is focused on the future, and the other that is focused on the past, and an attempt to take us backward.
No,
but
closing
we're not
statements.
Going back.
Oh, we're going to.
And I do believe that the American people know we all have so much more in common than what separates us, and we can chart a new way forward. And a vision of that includes having a plan, understanding the aspirations, the dreams, the hopes, the ambition of the American people, which is why I intend to create an opportunity economy, investing in small businesses, in new families, in what we can do around protecting seniors, what we can do that is about giving hardworking folks a break and bringing down the cost of living. I believe in what we can do together that is about sustaining America's standing in the world and ensuring that we have the respect that we so rightly deserve, including respecting our military and ensuring we have the most lethal fighting force in the world.
Really?
I will be a president that will protect our fundamental rights and freedoms, including the right of a woman to make decisions
statement?
about her own
Move
body.
on, Kamala,
and
move
not
on.
have
You
her
know that's
government
unpopular.
I'll tell you, I started my career as a prosecutor. I was a DA, I was an attorney general,
we
a United
know
States
that
senator,
you
and now
locked
vice
up people
president. I've only had
for
one
smoking
client,
pot.
the
That's
people.
not some.
And I'll tell
In
you,
this
as a
context, I guess it is something to brag
never
about just because
asked
Trump is
a
like
victim
an actual
or a
criminal.
witness,
I get
are you
it,
a Republican or a
but
Democrat? The only thing I ever ask them, are you okay? And that's the kind of president we need right now. Someone who cares about you and is not putting themselves first. I intend to be a president for all Americans and focus on
all
what
Americans,
we can do over the next
but
10
primarily
and 20
corporations.
years to build back up our country by investing right now in you, the American people.
Vice President
Really?
Harris, thank you. President Trump?
So she just started by saying,
Oh my
she's
God,
gonna do
dude, it's
this,
your
she's gonna do
closing
that, she's gonna
statement,
do all these
dude.
wonderful things. Why hasn't she done it? She's been there for 3.5 years. They've had 3.5 years to fix the border. They've had 3.5 years to.
But you
create
didn't do it
jobs
either
and
under
all
your
the things we
administration,
talked about.
dumbass.
Why hasn't she done it? She
Why
should
didn't
leave
you?
right now, go down to that beautiful White House, go to the Capitol, get
I mean, I
everyone
will say
together
this is
and
at
do
least
the
better than
things
the
you wanna
2020
do, but
debates.
you haven't done it, and you won't do it.
Yep.
Because you believe in things
Oh,
that the
dude,
American
I
people don't
can't,
believe in.
dude,
You believe in.
Do you remember
things
having to
like,
watch,
we're not gonna
like,
frack, we're not going to take fossil
COVID,
fuel, we're
like
not
we were
gonna do
isolated
things
and we
that
were
are going
having
to
to
make this
watch
country strong,
two
whether you
old
like
men.
it or not.
We had to watch one
Germany tried
deranged
that,
old man
and within 1
and
year they
another
were
like
back to building
barely mentally
normal
there old man
energy
try to
plants. We're not ready
just
for it. We can't
struggle
sacrifice
through
our
debate.
Pissing match,
country
bro. They're trying to
for
see
the
who
sake
can
of
hold
bad
their
vision.
erection
But I
the
just asked one simple question.
and we
didn't
all
she
know
do it?
neither of them
We're a
can.
failing
Yeah,
nation.
yeah.
We're a nation that's in serious decline. We're being laughed at all over the world. All over the world, they're laughed. I know the leaders very well. They're coming to see me. They call me. We're laughed at all over the world. They don't understand what happened to us as a nation. We're not a leader. We don't have any idea what's going on. We have wars going on in the
It's
Middle
so
East.
loud.
We have wars going on with Russia and Ukraine. We're going to end up.
Hey man, I don't know if like I've got a little bit of delay here on the live stream, like on the live stream we're watching, but yeah, Trump is in the middle of his closing statement right now. I don't know if like you're watching it like live on TV.
Oh no, I'm just missing the closing statements right now.
Okay, I mean honestly, you're not missing much. It's literally just like Kamala being like, I'm going to be president for all Americans and also military-industrial complex. Let's go.
It was quite the strange angle.
Closing statements are usually just like the most high-level concepts. Like it's what we already know about the candidate. It's just the aesthetic that they're trying to push out, plus who they are, basically.
Yeah.
Who you are, plus that aesthetic filter, you know.
Yeah, for sure. And Jay, I should probably introduce you. So this is Ty. Ty is our program director. I got the title right now.
Program director.
Yeah.
Hello, program director.
Yeah.
Hi.
So Jay, how did you feel about that debate?
Oh man. All right, I got a lot to say, I guess. So firstly, with Trump, I realized he doesn't know what a tariff is.
Yeah. I mean that wouldn't surprise me. I don't know. It's just like he literally just like wants to put tariffs on everything that gets imported. It's like that is going to fuck up the economy, dude. Like,
right. I think the thing that nobody realizes about Trump is that you have this threefold issue essentially, right? That he has. Basically what he pledges to do when he gets into office. And I mean, the first thing, it isn't really something he pledges to do, but this is something you can infer from his previous action, is that Donald Trump he's not a spending cutter in general, right? You run record high deficits under a Trump administration.
Yeah.
But the other thing too is that, you know, like cut taxes. Actually, I guess this okay, but I'll get into the other main three things though. So like that's the big problem, is that you run record deficits under Trump. Cutting taxes further, it's only going to increase that deficit. Next, you have these tariffs. You're only going to make consumers pay more for average goods with 10% tariffs across the board. Is that what he was saying? And then lastly, Donald Trump says that he wants to
Oh, you cut out.
Major say in what? Oh, did I cut out?
Just briefly. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
You just start. Yeah, just like start back from like your third point. I think that's kind of where it got cut out.
Oh, yeah. I think Donald Trump was advocating for 10% tariffs across the board. That's just going to make average goods for consumers become significantly more expensive. Mm-hmm. And then lastly, Donald Trump wants to dictate monetary policy, or at least influence it substantially to the Federal Reserve. Therefore, it goes back to the first Trump administration where Jerome Powell was like, oh, I do what he says because I don't want to get fired. And you have these really low interest rates, which worked well at the time. But having low interest rates with this high inflation is only going to make inflation worse in like the current situation that we're in. So I think that Donald Trump would be probably like one of the worst things you could imagine for the economy. And especially since Donald Trump relatively did have like a good economy, just like rolling off of like, you know, things being decent, things being like high. I mean, I think if there is a recession that, you know, a handful of economists predict coming up around the corner, that I think Donald Trump would not know what to do, and he would just keep doing what he does. And you probably see one of the worst responses from the federal government to a recession in like the, you know, I don't know, in like probably the last 50 years or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely cosign all of that. I don't know. I mean, with the economy being good under Trump, I mean, I don't know. Maybe there's an argument to be made before COVID, but then even, I don't know. I mean, I guess I wouldn't say the economy was great under Trump, but I also won't, it was just kind of like a maintenance of the status quo, I guess. Like he didn't, you know, he didn't really like,
except he cut taxes. I mean, which wasn't
cost of goods were relatively decent. But I mean, that's also just like rolling off of the Obama years. Like it isn't something Trump directly did. It's just stuff people give Trump credit for.
Yep.
And on top of that too, you know, like inflation was low, but that also goes back to cost of goods. Mm-hmm. And then the last thing too was I guess stock market was okay under Trump. I mean, we've seen record highs under the Biden administration, but Trump always likes to. It's so funny how, have you guys noticed that? Have you guys seen that? How Trump takes credit for stock highs with the Biden administration because he says that.
That Biden.
Sorry, I got COVID. I got COVID brain right now, so I can't think everything properly.
Oh shit, that's right. I forgot about that, dog. Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, when the stock market hit record highs a while ago, while it's been the Biden administration in office, he would say that the stocks are going up because of me. Because everybody knows that I'm going to be the next president, and everybody's preparing.
That's funny
for me.
Insane.
It's so funny to me.
That is wild. Yeah, I don't know. Personally, like I never really comment on like, you know, what people say about the stock market because frankly, like, you know, I let Wall Street investors be concerned about the stock market. I am personally more concerned about, you know, hey, how much is my wage? How much is the price of goods? You know, from what I understand, like the stock market, like how well it's doing really just reflects like how well, you know, maybe upper middle class and the wealthy class are doing. Is that?
Well, everybody should be concerned about the stock market because that's what your 401k is in. That's what, you know, that's what like a lot of people's investments are in. And I know that there's a lot of people who aren't in the stock market because they just don't have a job that, you know, they aren't earning a living wage, aren't making the money for that, and don't have the benefits to get them into the stock market. And that's a real problem.
Yeah.
Because the stock market, as long as you have the right amount of diversification, and that's one reason why you should care about the stock market, is having the diversification to make your 401k grow so that way your retirement's good.
I mean, see, and that's always been and again, this is where I'm kind of coming from maybe more of a democratic socialist perspective, but like, I don't know, part of me is a little bit concerned with, I don't know, with kind of like resting, like with placing like so much importance on this system that really is kind of left up to chance, right? I mean, isn't kind of like investing in stocks, like to an extent, like just kind of gambling on the success of, the success or failure of a business?
It is almost gambling, but if you have the right profile where you have the right amount of, what is it? Not variation, covariation. Why am I not thinking the right word right now? But as long as these, correlation, obviously, I'm so dumb. As long as you don't have too much like correlation between your stocks within your portfolio, then you're not really gambling in general. And that's how it should be when you're setting up your 401k. And I think that is one thing that's a big issue with a lot of people, is that we don't teach them enough about the stock markets when it comes to like setting up their 401k. I think a lot of these businesses are being very unethical by not helping their employees out with setting up their 401k, because a lot of people will just choose the first options that they see just out of satisfacy, and they'll just a lot of times, everything starts alphabetically. Things that all started with A could all just be the same industry, and if you're picking everything from the same industry, then all these stocks completely correlate. So that can be a big reason why like an average person who has a 401k won't reap good benefits from the stock market.
But see, to me, I think, the role of our government should be to invest in, retirement for the aging people. We have like the largest population of elderly people or people under elderly care in history. And I feel like, is it not the job of the government to, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. It's the job of the government to support their people. And I feel like putting, it's a good thing, obviously, to have 401ks and those benefits, but wouldn't an ideal solution be that the government serves its people in that goal, and that we don't have to, put that much stock into the system, like you were saying, Ethan? Yeah. Is that not the ideal role of our government?
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of where because like...
Oh, I see where you come from. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to think about that a little bit more and think about the options that might exist for that. I mean, in the past, the way that like we used to be a lot more successful is that businesses would pay in and invest a lot more into their employees.
Yeah, but see,
that's where the 401k came from, is that, these pensions that people used to get paid, they just don't exist anymore. And that's why like your silent generation and your oldest boomers did so well.
Hey, I just want to make like you can hear Ty, right?
Oh, I heard it. Good. Yeah, I think I heard Ty a second ago. Did he say something that I spoke over?
No, you were good. You were good.
Yeah.
You're all good. But I'm sorry, I completely lost my train of thought.
Yeah.
Sorry. I think I fucked with your train of thought.
You were all good. You were all good.
I was going to segue my point into the idea too that, since like there isn't really, like, I would say 401k you can maybe argue is kind of a stopgap since those pensions aren't there anymore. So maybe do we need something more robust that might have like some private public partnership, or maybe just straight up a government program? I don't know. That might be a good move. For all I know.
Yeah.
See, I remember my train of thought here.
Yeah, go for it.
Oh, what I was going to say is, we're seeing this kind of shift away from businesses and corporations investing in their people long term.
Absolutely, yeah.
And
it's
we're
terrible.
seeing more of like a pivot towards them encouraging this kind of like your replaceable mentality among workers.
Absolutely.
And that's like reflects in our job market. It reflects in, the hiring practices. It's seen all over because they're turning a profit currently.
Yeah.
They're hitting records.
It reflects in one more key indicator too, is the amount that we spend on employee training and for employee continued growth and education.
Yep.
I mean, a lot of companies used to invest in their employees, like, education, to go to seminars, to learn more, so that way they can grow and become a more like, become a higher, go up the ladder in their company. But they just don't do that anymore.
No, because they're seeing a lot of profit off of, just kind of keeping the wheels turning, keeping new people in, keeping new faces, because then they can lower the wages. They can keep growing, the CEO's money, because, CEO pay is based off of the pay of other CEOs on different boards, and CEOs are on, multiple boards, and they seek the benefit by everybody getting a raise there, while you keep seeing, wages stagnate on the low end.
Yeah. Well, that's why I think the the labor movement has kind of been reignited in the past few years, because I think a lot of these corporate executives, they've never really felt any pressure to actually like improve the conditions, improve the pay of their workers. And by workers kind of organizing together and saying, hey, listen, like if you don't start treating us a little bit better, if you don't start actually like ensuring that we can have a livable wage and that we can just comfortably live in the wealthiest nation in the world, if you can't guarantee that to us, to the workers who ensure that your company stays running, well, we're going to strike, and we're going to threaten your bottom line. And I think, I think that's why we're kind of seeing this increase in the labor movement, or this, this blossoming of the labor movement right now. So, yeah. Anyways, I think it's probably a good note to end on, I think. Because, I guess the debate's over, and so that's the thing, Jay, and you can probably, I think this thing's probably going to be, it looks like it's going to be about 2 hours once we get it uploaded. Yeah. Initially we started this thinking, hey, we'll do this as something that we'll like record and broadcast on the airwaves. Honestly, with how much, because like
we got a bit of potty mouths here.
Yeah, I mean the potty mouths, and also like the calls to action. Like there's going to be even just to upload this online, there's going to have to be some censoring I'll still need to do, because like whenever I opened up Signal like on there, it was like displaying on there, and like there are some messages obviously I don't want people to see. Exactly. And there's also like me mentioning like my sister's name. Like I don't think she's going to want that. So. Because I got it.
And as program director, I just can't allow stuff like that to slide. Like that's kind of my job, to oversee kind of the language use and the calls to action. And this is a new role for me, and I'm trying to crack down.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not the Law and Order candidate, but I can be. Sorry, I didn't mean to quote Kamala there.
So, I can definitely tell.
That was pretty good. Pretty good.
Let me ask you this, Ty. So how did the managing the software over the automation software over the summer go?
Oh my God, that automation software, dude! I'm telling you, like, you don't even know the half of it. You don't even know the half of it, because like as somebody like lived up the block, one day it like turned off, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not doing anything today. I'm off. I walk up there to turn it on, door is locked. And I'm like, I know there are people in here. Some dude like is walking by the door. I'm like, and he's nothing. He, like, I'm knocking real hard, nothing. Absolutely nothing. They're just walking by, and I'm like, okay, you know what? Automation's going to stay down. I come in, dude, one day I reset it, like restarted the computer, because I know how to do it. Shout out tech team.
Shout out tech team.
They took me in, even though I have zero tech experience, and they showed me what kind of needed to be done, and I really appreciate that, because I can do things like go in there and restart the computer and everything, bring back up the thing, and like, oh my God, it'll do this thing where it adds like infinite liners or infinite stabs, or the legal ID, because legal ID plays automatically in automation.
Yeah.
And sometimes it'll just stack. Like, I think we saw it was 193 last time I went in. And it would loop a song, and then if you turn off the loop to back to normal automation, it would just start playing those IDs over and over and over and over and over. And that was, to be honest, the most annoying thing, because we just recently found the clear all button. It's hidden in the software. You really got to go and, you got to dig into the settings, and that'll clear your queue. But, that was a trip. And spoilers, we're working on, we've been working on securing new software, but
we were talking about that last year.
Yeah, the gears are turning and there's zero grease, man.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, you know, like, and it seems to be an issue. Maybe, I don't know if it's just like with the software that like college radio stations can afford. Because like whenever I was at Henderson, like so we use this software. It was called Play It Live. I think we use something called Radio DJ.
Oh yeah, we use Radio DJ.
Yeah. Play It Live. Like it would just, it would crash frequently. So it wasn't like it would ever it was just, it would crash. Like I would say every, I don't know, maybe like every week at least. I would say if it went a week without crashing, like that'd be good.
Sounds like that sounds terrible. At least Radio DJ does not seem to crash, but the freezing and the looping, and I don't know, it doesn't actually crash because you'll walk in there if automation just stops. You'll walk in there and it just like it's not great. It hasn't crashed. Yeah. And it usually doesn't freeze, but it does just sometimes will not allow you to restart automation. You have to like restart it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And it's all on a computer running Windows 7. So.
Oh yeah, that too. Yeah. Okay. We'll say this actually.
All on Windows 7. What?
Yeah. No, and that's kind of wild because like, so Henderson, and I don't know if I mentioned this whole thing. Maybe I did. So like with Henderson, whenever I was there, they were going through this whole budget crisis. It's actually kind of why I transferred here because they ended up firing all their liberal arts professors over all that. Yeah, it was insane.
Yeah, you told me about that.
Yeah. I mean, I did. That was kind of like one of the main things I first started talking about whenever I started the kennel was because I just gotten this mic and the news was coming out that like, you know, we got this new chancellor. And he was already talking about how we're going to be going through this phase of financial exigency, which is basically like flowery language to say we're going to be making a shit ton of cuts because we are getting fucked in the ass.
Yikes.
And the one thing that our radio station...
You stopped your recording yet?
What?
You stopped your recording yet?
Oh no, we're still going. Honestly, like I don't know. I guess we'll
make it harder for yourself with the expletives.
Well, yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like I've already kind of made the executive decision. We're not broadcasting this. Like I'm just gonna upload this onto the kennel. I'm just gonna make like I'm just gonna like cut out the things that like people can't like. I don't want people to see because of like either privacy or mainly just privacy reasons. So like I mentioned, like my I gotta tell you. Dog, the text my sister sent during the debate. So you remember how like Trump was saying like, Trump was saying that all the legal scholars agreed with overturning Roe v. Wade. Like he was.
Yes. Oh, I wanted to bring. Oh, I have a few notes. Do you mind if we go through these together? Yeah, let's talk about that first because that's actually the second thing on my notes after the tariffs.
Oh, okay. Well, I was just gonna read. I was gonna read my sister's tweets, or not tweets, but she sent texts like in like a group chat with my siblings. She's like, and keep in mind, by the way, she went to like Harvard Law School. She says, I don't know if anyone who hasn't been to law school really needed to hear this, but just in case, no, not quote unquote every legal scholar thought Roe v. Wade should be overturned.
That was a ridiculous comment.
Yeah.
So we have the Harvard Law student. Or graduate.
That's one of my favorite things too, is just the gap. Okay, two different elements is one, the gaslighting about how the American public views abortion.
Oh my God.
Nobody in the American public is like, yeah, I want it sent to the States. Because this is the most divisive topic in American history. Mm-hmm. Or I should say one of them, where you're talking about like pro-life versus pro-choice. Like this is a major debate where people who have a side, and that's a lot of the American public, have like pretty firm stances on those sides. They're not just like, take it to the States. I mean, who says that? Really, who says that?
Nobody.
People who might, like, people who are pro-life are like, no, don't take it to the States. Who are going to abortions are just going to go out of state for abortion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which and I know in some places illegal.
Yeah, it's just...
Tennessee is cracking down on that. And like, I'll add on to that too. I mean, it's like, if you buy into the pro-life argument that, we can't do abortions because that fetus might be a human being, if you truly believe that like it is murder that is being committed whenever like an abortion, whenever someone performs an abortion, then like, yeah, I mean, you're going to take issue with the fact that like you have this guy who's been saying, I'm pro-life, abortion's terrible, but he's, in the minds of pro-lifers, of like the most ardent pro-lifers, in their eyes, it's basically like, their guy saying, yeah, I'm just going to let states decide if like murder is okay.
Yeah.
And again, obviously, like I don't share that viewpoint, but in their eyes, it's like, that's basically the president saying, yeah, we'll just like, let states decide whether or not it's like okay to legalize murder. And that's just not, yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right about that, Jay. It's just like not really, no one wants that to happen. It's kind of like the worst of both worlds.
The only Republican who had a thoughtful compromise position with abortion was Nikki Haley. I think she was the only one who had a little bit of thought in her compromise position.
She was basically like, I won't outlaw, like she wouldn't
I think it was like she would allow for like first plus a little bit extra trimester abortion,
which is like not like all the way to Roe v. Wade, but like, yeah, essentially, yeah. I mean, that was like on the important part about Roe v. Wade was like, the first trimester, you have a right to that.
So the gaslighting about everybody wanting it to go back to the states, and then second, the lies about executed babies as soon as they're brought out.
Yeah, even the commentator called that one out.
Yeah, that
was
that was just bad. I don't know. I honestly, like if I had to like declare, and maybe we should end on this note. If I had to declare a victor, like Kamala did win. It wasn't enough to like get me to vote for her in a state where she is definitely not going to get those electors. No, but still, she did win that debate, I think, hands down. Yeah,
I'd have to.
I think the most interesting thing about Kamala from this debate is when she was solid all the way through. But I think the one fact I didn't know about her, at least of what she claimed, is that she's a gun owner, which is a fascinating.
I missed that part. Shit. Well,
she said her and Tim Walz, which I knew Tim Walz was.
Yeah, Tim Walz.
Are both gun owners, and I think that is a position where I think that Democrats do need to, since a lot of Democrats are gun owners, I think that a lot of like Democratic leaders need to like show their active support for, handgun firearm ownership, even if they want to outlaw certain types of like semi-automatic rifles.
Yeah, it could like blunt like the BS criticism that like, and I think Trump like ran this line during the debate. He was like, yeah, she wants to take away all your guns. Yeah, no, I think that's a good point too. Yeah, I mean, it could be important for them to kind of embrace gun ownership, to a responsible degree, I think.
I'm sorry, I'm going to be annoying, but I need to bring up another thing.
Yeah, go for it.
Donald Trump with the ACA. He said, is there anything you have to replace the ACA? Do you have a plan? He said, I have a concept of a plan.
Again, this kind of shows just like how much Ty and I were just kind of like shooting the shit over the debate, because we were just kind of like, this is background noise. So we're just going to use it to
I asked him if he had a plan, and he said, I have a concept of a plan.
No, and we even discussed that too. Without even hearing that comment, we even discussed how like he had not like actually come out and said anything like tangible thoughts about how he would implement anything. He would just kind of dodge around stuff and then make comments about how his last administration was amazing and the current administration's terrible, and if he was there, tariffs. And that's, I think, maybe the only tangible thing that he said.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, with the kind of wild stuff that was proposed in Project 2025 that Donald Trump is just like having to run away, kicking and screaming from, it's almost like whenever he gets asked about any kind of policy that he has offered in other contexts, or other policies that he's been associated with, it's like he knows he can't like defend them or like, full out support them because it's not popular, especially at something like this debate where, a lot of people are going to be watching it. Like, he knows that he just has to like, I don't know, kind of play hide the ball with what he actually supports.
Like the veto.
Let me tell you.
Yeah.
Oh gosh,
sorry.
When he said, "Let me tell you about the Capitol," there are so many illegal immigrants coming into this country. That was so funny to me.
That Yeah, that was probably another one. I don't doubt that happened, but that was definitely one I missed too. Like I said, I think the thing that really caught our attention was definitely Kamala just scolding him on abortion, and then also
absolutely.
And then also probably. I guess probably the immigration thing. I don't know. That was really the only memorable thing that really came out of that debate. And maybe, I don't know, maybe Kamala, I don't know, for me, because again, really like I'm a single issue voter on the issue of Israel and Gaza. It was also memorable to me too, I guess, was Kamala just kind of running that same line that she's always been running, which is just really, again, it's going to make it very difficult for, her more left-leaning base to come out and support her, I think, even in swing states. I'm really interested to see what happens with the uncommitted voters. How much of an effect they're actually going to have, or if they're even going to stick to their uncommitted position.
Yeah.
That's
a good point.
Because I'll be honest, I don't know because I voted uncommitted in Tennessee. I don't know if I would have stuck with that position if I were in a swing state. Because I think it probably would have felt a little bit of pressure to be like, well, this is kind of where your vote is actually going to matter. Mm-hmm. And if Trump does win, it's going to be worse for the Palestinians anyways. And Kamala, maybe she'll change something. She has historically, she's just been kind of a spineless politician, right? She backed off Medicare for all. She backed off fracking. She really doesn't have much of any kind of moral direction other than the standard Democratic, corporate Democratic direction, which is, say yes to corporations and say yes to most, left-leaning social ideals embracing gay rights and embracing abortion rights. And, on a lot of other issues, I think, especially the economy and healthcare and foreign policy, she's kind of been spineless. She's kind of just had her finger in the wind, I think. And, that's so anyways, that would have been the calculation I would have been making if I were in a swing state. But again, Tennessee.
Yeah, I would say much like Joe Biden, she just sort of meets the American people where, kind of at that threshold of where they need that politician, but also to where that's a popular and somewhat doable policy.
Yeah.
Where sure. I think Joe Biden met the American people a lot with union rights, with antitrust. I think that there are a lot of the IRA. I think a lot of strong things came out of the Biden administration, where he's changed a lot as a politician, and I think you kind of see the same thing as Kamala, but she's a little bit younger, a little bit fresher. I think that her I have a plan rant, which, as cheesy as it was, I think it gave a very good demonstration of the amount of tax credits that she has for people who are just starting up in life, people who are just starting new businesses, people who are just having kids.
First time
I think that those are very I think that those ideas and those concepts are going to resonate a lot with Americans.
Jay, what you said actually just reminded me, whenever you're talking about the Biden administration, you reminded me of another memorable thing. I actually think I will remember this for a while from this debate. Kamala, so, I would say for maybe the past couple of years, really ever since we withdrew from Afghanistan, especially in the news media, the Biden administration has gotten a lot of flack for the withdrawal from Afghanistan. And whenever Kamala,
which I disagree with a lot.
Yeah, I know. It was a 20-year war. We had to pull out.
Had to get out of there.
Yeah. And whenever the moderator asked her this it was just a horribly framed question. He was like, a lot of people have criticized, the Biden administration's decision to pull out of Afghanistan. What would you say to this? What would you say to the critics of this controversial decision? And it's okay, dude, you are literally just giving into the framing of the military industrial complex on this issue. It just such a bad question, and she just took it head on. She was just yeah, we pulled out because we fucking had to, because we were there for 20 years spending, God, what was it, $2 trillion on this entire fiasco? Yeah, we pulled out just like we did after we realized that Vietnam was kind of a waste of time and money.
Yeah.
And I just really that, and again, that's whenever I see a moment like that, that's where I do have like a little bit of hope for a Harris administration, maybe to, change course on Israel and Gaza. Mm-hmm. But as of now, I don't have much hope on that. But whenever I see a moment like that where Harris is willing to just kind of buck the establishment and just be like, no, like we made the right choice and we're moving forward on that front.
What I will say about her stance on Gaza and Israel and just those relations in general is just the fact that she has spoken out and spoken slightly out of step with the Biden administration is very interesting to me, because she's never going to say anything to actively undermine the Biden administration, right? So she's never going to say like it would be very unpopular for her to say like she doesn't support Israel in general.
Well, but I would actually say no. I'd actually disagree. There was actually first off, there's a Gallup poll. What was it? I think it was done in like maybe May or June. It had shown that support for specifically Israel's actions in Gaza had dropped from like 50 to 36% overall. But moreover, there was a new poll that came out. It was, I forget who it was commissioned by, but it was conducted by YouGov and who was it? Mehdi Hassan's new outlet, Zateo. They reported on this. They actually.
Okay, I'm a bit behind the times then.
Yeah, and Zateo, like, they reported that, like, no, like, if basically what they had found was whenever they had asked people, like, hey, would you like support Kamala and Walz, like, if they promised to like withhold arms from Israel, they actually found like, yeah, basically what they had found was that a promise in that policy, like promising to withhold arms from Israel, would have no negative effect or like barely any kind of negative effect, but would actually gain a lot more supporters.
Interesting.
And
I think that's a good point.
Yeah,
that's kind of what I've been hearing too. Kind of like between people who are undecided or people like you who are one issue voters. I mean, like it would rope in people, because a lot of what's been pushed and a lot of like, the huge talking points and the points that are considered contentious really aren't. Like, we're not seeing a lot of movement on those things. We're not really seeing, people who are undecided or, or are, moderates we're not seeing them choosing a side. We're not seeing them choose a side because then nobody's budging on anything. And like, and the small concessions that Harris is making, like such as like the fracking and a few other things. It's not actually like, I don't think that's actually garnering like a noticeable support.
Yeah, no,
I don't think that's actually like helping her case.
Yeah, it's I think like I said, I think that's kind of seeing a poll like the one I was talking about. Like, it's kind of what makes me think that, the main thing that's really holding her back is trying to get the people who want to see her go in a more left-wing direction, I think. Because at this point, I think, you go, Jay, sorry.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to say that as much as you might want to hear her say that, she can't say too much that's far out of step with the Biden administration, because she can't actively undermine the Biden administration at any like foreign affair.
Yeah, and that's kind of...
She is still the vice president.
Yeah, that is true. And the thing is, like, I don't know. I mean, so part of me makes me wonder then, like, that if she's promising to basically, like, continue the Biden administration because, like, she can't really step outside the boundaries of what the Biden administration is already doing, or at least too much, part of me wonders if maybe... Part of me does wonder if maybe she, she's trying to appear more conservative than what she actually intends to be.
Interesting. I mean, that's one of those things that we'll only see with time.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Hey, I think that's actually a good note to end on, because my God, it is 10.
It is late.
It is 10:23. I honestly, still after saying that, I kind of want to drink. So anyways.
Understandable.
Yeah. Jay, thanks so much for kind of doing this on a whim. I'll let you know where
this is fun. We'll have to do this again.
Yeah, we will. So I already kind of mentioned it to Ty on here. I've been trying to keep guests. Yeah, spoilers, I know. But yeah, for those who missed it first, Jay will be coming back on the kennel for the Honorable series. So hopefully we'll have a lot more to share maybe on. I think by the time you come on, will there be another debate? Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. I'll leave you in suspense on that. So, anyways, friends, thank you so much for listening to, or actually, I don't even think I'm going to upload. Well, I think it'll automatically get published as an audio only thing, but yeah, thank you so much for watching, this very long video. I don't know how this is going to turn out in post, honestly. We're going to see how this turns out in post. Great. Yeah, I'm sure it'll be fine. But, anyways, thank you so much for watching. Hit the like button. If you like what you had to see, hit me up in the comment section if you have any thoughts or responses that you want to share. And if you liked seeing this kind of content, be sure to hit that subscribe button as well, so you get notifications in your email and the Substack app whenever I upload another piece of content. So Ty, Jay, and also Ashton, who just kind of popped in for a minute and a half. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome. Alrighty. See you, friends.
Bye-bye. See ya.
Hey, friend, that's all I've got for today, but thank you so much for watching or listening to this episode of The Unnatural State of Affairs. The Unnatural State of Affairs broadcasts on WMTS 88.3 FM in Murfreesboro, Tennessee from 5 to 7 p.m. on Mondays. The broadcasted version is censored, but I do also have a full DJ hour in the broadcasted version. I mostly play punk rock music and some rap music as well. And if you can't tune in at that time, though, you can also find the uncensored versions of all my talk show segments that day on my Substack, The Kennel, and you can also find audio-only versions on Spotify. If you liked what I had to say, hit that like button. If you have any thoughts that you want to share, hit me up in the comments section down below. And if you want to be notified of the next upload that I make, hit that subscribe button. You'll get an email in your inbox the next time I make an upload, and you'll also get a notification through the Substack app if you have that on your device. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a good one.